Chapter 1575. Day and night changed, and the universe was reversed. After a whole night of traveling in the starry sky, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang entered a hazy fog at dawn. I can't see my surroundings clearly again. Hold my hand tightly, Chu Hen reminded her. Got it. Luo Mengchang nodded obediently, her shoulder pressed tightly against Chu Hen's arm, and her 10 fingers clasped tightly together. Although the surroundings were hazy, the naked eye could see that they were less than 3 meters apart, but the two of them did not have the slightest fear in their hearts. In this illusory and mysterious world, Luo Mengchang was more like Chu Hen's pillar of support and support. He thought that the fog would last for a long time, like the desert sandstorm before. However, in just about half an hour, the fog gradually thinned. Shrouded in the hazy mist, a stone bridge appeared in front of the two of them. There was no one around the bridge, and there was no water under the bridge. The stone bridge in the fog could only be seen in front of it, and the end could not be seen. There's a rhythm of power, Luo Mengchang said softly. Yeah, Chu Hen nodded, and a touch of emotion flashed in his eyes. Without much hesitation, Chu Hen held Luo Mengchang's hand and walked straight towards the ancient stone bridge. As they crossed the stone bridge, the surrounding fog gradually dissipated. When their vision became clear, the two of them also walked to the end of the stone bridge. Reflected in front of the two of them was a quiet jungle. The environment was quiet and picturesque. The trees in the jungle were not regular. Some were tall, some were short, some were thick, some were thin, but each tree was fluorescent, crystal clear, and dazzling. A winding spring ran through the forest, and in the distance, a few handsome elk could be seen drinking by the stream with their heads down. A long path paved with stone slabs extended all the way to the depths of the jungle under the feet of Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang. In the shrubs and flowers on both sides of the road, there were spirit butterflies dancing. A clear spring passed through the forest, and beside the spring was a deer drinking stream. The stone path passed through the deep forest, and on the bank of the stream were flowers in love with butterflies. The color of the scenery was picturesque. It was like a different world from the yellow sandstorm they experienced before. The environment in front of them seemed to have returned to normal, but the sky above them was still an inverted landscape of mountains, rivers, cities, and forests. It was as if two different planes of space were overlapping. We're almost at the innermost part of the misty sky, right? Luo Mengchang said uncertainly. Probably, Chu Hen nodded. Since the Heavenly Mystery Palace Master Mu Fei had only given him 3 days, it meant that the misty sky space was not very big. Go! Chu Hen let out a deep sigh of relief. Together with Luo Mengchang, they stepped onto the stone path in front of them and walked straight into the jungle. When the two of them entered, a few deer by the stream bank looked up at them. There was no fear in their clear eyes. You're not afraid of us, Luo Mengchang said. Of course not, they don't really exist, Chu Hen replied. Not real. Luo Mengchang was stunned, and then she focused and looked carefully, and a trace of surprise appeared in her clear eyes. There's only the pulsation of energy, but there's no aura of life. Yes. Chu Hen nodded in affirmation. They're all spiritual bodies condensed from the spiritual energy of heaven and earth gathered here. They only have bodies, but no life. Although everything in this jungle was almost no different from real things, it could not be hidden from Chu Hen's demonic eyes. All of them? Luo Mengchang asked in surprise. Yes, all of them. Trees, flowers, springs, streams, and all animals are spiritual bodies. Unbelievable. Just what level of spiritual energy density is required for such a realistic spiritual body to be formed? It's indeed amazing. Chu Hen smiled, and the two of them continued forward. The jungle was very deep. It was also very quiet. Apart from the deer, there were other forest animals in the distance. For example, rats, rabbits, cows, snakes, and a few other strange demon beasts. Suddenly, a rather powerful wave of spiritual energy came from the front. Chu Hen raised his eyebrows. only to see that on the side of the stone path in front of him stood a spiritual body that was more than 10 feet tall. Unlike the other psionic bodies, this one was a giant armor guard. It held a cold spear in its hand. It exuded a biting cold aura. Its limbs were relatively clear, but its head was like a burning golden flame. Seeing Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong walk over, the golden flame head under the armor actually had two red eyes floating. "Who are you?" The deep voice was dreamy. It seemed to be coming from the mouth of a ventilation pipe. This spiritual body had a consciousness? Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong looked at each other, and their hearts lit up. "You can actually speak?" Chu Hen stepped forward and said. The spiritual body did not answer, and its head tilted slightly, a little confused and a little confused. "Who are you?" After a pause, it repeated the sentence just now. "I'm looking for someone." Chu Hen hurriedly replied, and then asked, "Is there anyone else here?" "No, people." The other party answered without the slightest emotional fluctuation, and its voice was stiff and mechanical. "No one else?" Chu Hen's expression changed. Luo Mengchong clearly felt Chu Hen's arm tremble. She hurriedly comforted, "It's just a spiritual body without consciousness. It definitely doesn't know what we're asking." Chu Hen's expression softened a little, and he nodded. Go back." The giant guard said again. "Go back." Chu Hen was taken aback, and he looked behind the other party's huge body. The narrow stone path extended all the way to the deepest part of the jungle, and he did not know where it led. "What's behind?" Chu Hen asked with a hint of anxiety. The other party still did not answer. It just said, "Go back." After all, it was just a spiritual body. Even if it produced a trace of spiritual consciousness, it could only repeat these two sentences mechanically. "Go back." What was behind? Chu Hen's eyes turned cold, and there was a flash of determination in his eyes. He immediately took Luo Mengchong around the giant guard's spiritual body in front of him and sped up their pace. They seemed to be getting closer and closer to that step. Chu Hen's heart was also getting more and more nervous. Soon, the two of them passed through the jungle derived from the spiritual body. When they walked to the end of the stone path, an ancient city appeared in front of them. It was a very desolate ancient city. The tall and majestic city tower seemed to have experienced the baptism of countless years, and even the words on the city wall were blurred. Although it was not in ruins, it had been through the vicissitudes of life. Above their heads, there was also an ancient city. It was as if two different worlds were overlapping, so much so that it made people wonder if a god had forcibly folded this world together, which was why such a shocking and mysterious scene appeared. "Will it be inside here?" Chu Hen muttered to himself. "I think so," Luo Mengchong replied. Chu Hen smiled slightly, but there was an unconcealable worry in his eyes. Immediately, the two of them slowly stepped into the city. Like stepping through the passage of reincarnation, many years had passed, and the aura that had been sealed for a long time was quietly touched. In the city, it was desolate and empty. Chu Hen gritted his teeth. Looking at the empty streets, the quiet alleys, and the attics, he could not help but have thousands of spider webs in his heart. Adding on the fact that the space above his head was almost collapsing, Chu Hen could not help but feel an indescribable pressure. "Don't worry, let's look for it." Luo Mengchong comforted him softly. She could clearly feel the sweat on Chu Hen's palms. She also knew that Chu Hen's heart was uneasy. The two of them walked on the deserted streets of the city, trying to search for traces of the existence of the predecessors. However, it seemed that there were only the two of them in the entire ancient city. They did not even see a spiritual body. Unknowingly, the two of them gradually walked into the central area of the ancient city. A particularly vast central square of the city appeared in front of the two of them. And in the middle of the square, a particularly spectacular and huge ancient tree directly entered the sight of Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong. The old tree's roots were as strong as a horned dragon, extending in all directions, occupying an unknown amount of underground space. Above and below the tree, there were countless complicated runes and secret scrolls. Countless crisscrossing branches branched out, and the tree crown was especially huge. extending to a diameter of a few thousand meters. However, such a huge tree, there was not a single leaf. This is the immortal talisman spirit tree. Thanks to the Pigeon King, brother for his 40,000 reward, the Rich Goat Village, brother for his 10,000 reward, the Li Wushang, brother for his 10,000 reward, and the Chasing Stars, Red Cheeks, and Immortal Song brothers for their rewards. These few days, my brothers have been so ferocious in their rewards, and it has also made me feel a lot of pressure, especially since the updates have been slow these few days. After the Misty Sky storyline ends, it will be slightly easier to write. Right now, I can't guarantee that I can add more chapters, but after the Sacred Clan Conference begins, it will be faster. Brothers, please forgive me. Chapter 1576. 1 second to remember. Wonderful pop-up window, free reading. Immortal Talisman Divine Tree. Heavenly Mystery Palace. At the peak of the towering mountain, old Monkey stared at Mu Fei's dignified face in astonishment. There's a divine tree in the misty sky. Astonishment filled the man's eyes. Heavenly Mystery Palace Master Mu Fei nodded. That's right, the Immortal Talisman Divine Tree. That tree is much older than any of the Immortal Talisman Spirit trees we have here. However, that divine tree has always been left unattended. In addition to the special geographical location of the misty sky, the divine tree was gradually eroded by the evil chi of the other realms, and in the end, it became both good and evil. Is that good or evil? Old Monkey asked. Mu Fei raised his head slightly, his eyelids twitching as he said, "There is the original immortal talisman spirit chi of the divine tree, as well as the cold, evil chi of corrosion. Just like the heart demon of a person, the power lies in the hands of a single thought. It also depends on whose hands it falls into. After so many years, why didn't you pull out that divine tree? Why did you plant it in our heavenly mystery palace?" Old Monkey rolled his eyes. He was already angry and had bad thoughts. Mu Fei shook his head. The misty sky is more fragile than imagined. That divine tree has been rooted there for who knows how many years. Once it is touched, it will definitely cause the misty sky to shake violently and even cause the space to collapse. Not to mention bringing the divine tree out. Even the people who go in will die there. So terrifying? You know best whether it's terrifying or not. When you sneaked in, didn't you encounter a space collapse? This. Hee. Old Monkey laughed dryly, slightly alleviating the awkwardness. Thinking back to when he sneaked in, he encountered a space collapse before he could even break through the illusory yellow sandstorm. Even though it was a small area, it almost took his life. According to the time in the misty sky, Chu Hen and his wife should have arrived at the misty city you mentioned earlier. Old Monkey seemed to be asking, but also answering his own question. Pausing for a moment, he let out a sigh. Chu Hen, brat, you better not touch that evil tree. If you don't come out, I, Han Yu, will really not have a single friend left. Misty Sky, the ancient city, which was filled with a desolate aura, was especially quiet. In the sky, the inverted city in the sky was like a legendary mirage, magnificent and majestic, incomparably mysterious and fantastic. It was like the convergence of two worlds. It was very mysterious. This is Immortal Talisman Spirit Tree. Chu Hen's eyes were filled with astonishment as he gazed at the towering tree in the central square of the city. The spiritual tree in front of him was much more majestic than any of the Immortal Talisman spiritual trees he had seen in the Tianji Palace. Even the 10,000-year-old Immortal Talisman Spirit Tree couldn't compare to this ancient tree. However, what was different from the Immortal Talisman Spirit Tree was that the color of the ancient tree in front of him was darker, and its bark was darker. Moreover, the huge crown that extended out only had branches, and not a single leaf could be seen on its entire body. It looked like an ancient tree that lacked the aura of nature and was about to wither. For some reason, looking at the huge ancient tree in front of him, Chu Hen felt an indescribable restlessness in his heart. This restlessness made him feel slightly uneasy, as if there was a strange magic that unknowingly stimulated a certain chord in Chu Hen's heart. In comparison, Luo Mengchang was much calmer. She looked at Chu Hen, whose expression was a little strange, and could not help but hold his hand. Let's go take a look at other places. This city is very big, and there might be other hidden space conveyor belts that we haven't found yet. As she spoke, Luo Mengchang pulled Chu Hen and walked in another direction. Time passed, and they did not stop. Without stopping, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang quietly walked through every corner of the ancient city. Their figures shuttled through every street, every alley, every courtyard, and every inconspicuous corner. Their depressed mood was like a slowly converging river, gradually accumulating and slowly expanding. In the end, it was like an undercurrent that was blocked in the heart, spreading wantonly and suffocating. After an unknown period of time, after going around in circles for a while, the two of them once again arrived in front of the dark but huge ancient tree. Such a huge ancient tree. The canopy covered the sky, and the countless branches were like an irregular big net that covered the sky, covering the sky above the ancient city square, and also blocking Chu Hen's heart. Let's go look elsewhere, Luo Mengchang comforted softly. Looking at Chu Hen's gradually pale and lonely face, Luo Mengchang's eyes were full of heartache. They're not here. Chu Hen's voice was a little dry and hoarse. Luo Mengchang bit her red lips with her silver teeth. She turned sideways and gently held Chu Hen's cheek with her lily-white hands. Don't be like this. Maybe Palace Master Mu Fei made a mistake. Your parents may have left the misty sky without him knowing. Let's go back first, okay? Chu Hen's eyes were faintly red. His hopes seemed to be shattered once again. His heart seemed to be constantly sinking in darkness. And when the last ray of light was drowned, his whole person seemed to have fallen to the bottom of an endless abyss. They're not here, they're not here. There was heartbreaking sadness in Chu Hen's eyes. Luo Mengchang's beautiful eyes were also red, and she held Chu Hen's hands. I will accompany you to find them. Let's go. For some reason, looking at Chu Hen like this, Luo Mengchang felt more and more uneasy. She always felt that there was an inexplicable cold aura in this place. This aura constantly invaded her mind, and it seemed to be interfering with Chu Hen's emotions. Intuition told her that she had to leave the misty sky with Chu Hen as soon as possible. After saying that, Luo Mengchang pulled Chu Hen up and was about to leave. However, before the two of them had time to turn around, a sharp and strange whistling sound suddenly appeared between heaven and earth. Rumble. Then a cold wind suddenly rose and a cold current attacked. The sky above the entire ancient city suddenly fell into darkness. Together with a bone-chilling cold aura, the huge ancient tree in front of the two of them actually rose a thick blood-red aura. The dark red light was like a monstrous demonic fire, instantly stacking and burning above and below the ancient tree, accompanied by bursts of distortion in the space. Above the ancient tree, a ferocious and huge blood-red demonic shadow suddenly appeared. The demonic shadow was illusory and ethereal, and it looked like a skull with sharp horns. Its pair of empty eye sockets were deep like whirlpools. Swoosh! The cold and piercingly cold air invaded the entire ancient city and spread towards the forest outside the city. The spiritual body, small beasts in the forest were all disturbed, and they all looked up at the quiet and strange ancient city. Clang! The sky changed color, and thunder rumbled in the sky. For example, the scene of wind and thunder appeared in the middle of the two folded spaces, and it was an indescribably spectacular and shocking scene. The inverted city in the sky was trembling. The ancient city tower under their feet was also shaking. Under such an uneasy space distortion, the seam between heaven and earth seemed to really be folding and intersecting. Seeing this, Luo Mengchang was surprised and suspicious. She quickly grabbed Chu Hen's arm and said, "Go." At the same time, there seemed to be a trace of evil and mysterious voice echoing in the air. "If we go, we will never see them again." Chu Hen's expression changed, and he subconsciously held his head. The instant of pain caused his entire body to tremble uncontrollably. What's wrong? Luo Mengchong asked anxiously. She saw that Chu Hen's body was shaking violently, and the blood vessels on his arms and forehead bulged. The blood in his body surged wantonly, as if there was a ferocious monster wantonly struggling in his body. Immediately after, the depths of Chu Hen's eyes were filled with a demonic bloody light, surging with a cold, evil aura. You, Luo Mengchong, was shocked by Chu Hen. What's wrong with you? Chu Hen, don't do this. Looking at Luo Mengchong's beautiful face, full of worry, Chu Hen let out a low roar from his throat. Go, quickly leave, don't care about me. The moment his voice fell, the giant tree in the center of the ancient city once again erupted with a bloody, evil aura, and the ferocious demonic shadow, floating in the sky, also let out an extremely ear-piercing scream. Clang! It was also at this moment that an extremely violent and heavy explosion suddenly broke out in the sky. The wind and clouds suddenly changed, and the stars rotated. The space above was suddenly torn apart. In an instant, a terrifying storm of destruction directly appeared in the sky above the ancient city. And the most terrifying thing was that in the center of the storm, deep and dark space cracks were forming and expanding at a speed as fast as the eye could see. Wherever it went, space distorted and then shattered. Space collapse. Luo Mengchong's pretty face turned pale, and a strong, ominous premonition began to attack her heart. Chapter 1577. In 1 second remember, wonderful pop-up window, free reading. Boom! Clang! Thousands of wind and thunder vortexes suddenly appeared in the sky. Like a divine punishment, the endless destructive aura instantly filled the entire ancient city. Looking at the dark, devouring hole that quietly formed, Luo Mengchong's beautiful face turned pale. The space is collapsing. We have to leave quickly. However, at this moment, Chu Hen's state seemed to be out of control. He trembled uneasily, his eyes were red, and he exuded an evil and vicious aura. Chu Hen covered his head with both hands. He did not know where the voice came from, but it was like a sharp thorn piercing into his soul. Let's go. Once we leave, we will never see them again. Do you want to know the truth? Then don't leave. It was the divine I Saint clan that destroyed your clan. It was that woman's father who brought people to slaughter your clan. She is your enemy, the enemy who killed your mother. Hee. All kinds of sharp and strange demonic howls invaded Chu Hen's mind, and he felt like his head was about to split open. Pain. The pain originated from the inner demons. Chu Hen did not even know why the invasion of the inner demons this time was so strong. It was so strong that even he could not distinguish reality from reality. Then, Chu Hen raised his hand and a soft palm force slapped Luo Mengchong's body. Go! Don't worry about me. Luo Mengchong, who was caught off guard, retreated dozens of meters. Buzz. In the next moment, an incomparably berserk, fiendish aura burst out from his body like a mountain torrent or tsunami. Chu Hen's eyes suddenly shot out two dazzling red beams of light. It was as if the blood in his entire body was boiling. His entire body emitted a malevolent aura. Chu Hen. Luo Mengchong was so shocked that she did not know what to do. Her beautiful eyes were filled with sadness. All of you, get out of my way, Chu Hen roared. Countless blood-colored light pillars broke through the earth, and one after another, they tore through the sky like dragons tearing through the dome of the heavens. Boom! The uncontrollable evil aura was like a torrent that had broken through a dam, overturning the world. The ground beneath Chu Hen's feet cracked inch by inch, exploding layer by layer. Countless large and small gravel were like startled beasts, dancing wildly in the sky. The powerful energy fluctuations emanating from Chu Hen once again caused the already fragile space to suffer a huge impact. Clang! Heavy and violent explosions rang out. The destructive storm vortex seemed to have been stimulated as it accelerated its expansion speed. The dark, devouring hole inside continued to attack in all directions, and the area of space collapse was collapsing at double the speed. Up in the sky, The fantastical world that seemed to be inverted was swept away by a storm that could devour the heavens, and a large area of the city collapsed and disintegrated. At the same time, the ground of the ancient city where Chu Hin and Luo Mengchong were located also cracked open rapidly. There were faults everywhere. Tower after tower collapsed with a loud rumble, causing dust to fill the sky. Tian Fa had descended. The apocalypse collapsed. The scene in front of them was definitely the terrifying scene of the destruction of the legendary Doomsday. The destructive storm began to destroy the world. Go! Chu Hin's eyes were blood red, and he roared at Luo Mengchong with his last remaining consciousness. Luo Mengchong was at a loss. Even though Chu Hin's entire body was currently emitting an evil aura that overflowed the heavens, his eyes still had concern and pity towards her. If you don't go, I won't go either, Luo Mengchong said with tears in her eyes. Boom! The ground between the two of them directly cracked open, and blood-colored light beams, like the tentacles of a demon from hell, surrounded Chu Hin layer by layer. Only then did Luo Mengchong understand. It was not that Chu Hin did not want to go, but that he had been firmly restrained by the inner demon. Chu Hin was completely out of his control. In Chu Hin's mind, the figures of his father, Chu Ran Tian, and his mother, Li Jixia, kept appearing. The few voices and smiles in his memory were like invisible chains, tightly locking his body. And, in those fragmented memories, a pair of peach blossom eyes full of sadness and tears pierced through Chu Hin's heart like a sharp knife. Because of Qi Tianling, because of the heart beast, and also because of all the things that had happened during this period of time, Chu Hin's inner demon had unknowingly grown to a level that was difficult to control. Today, the long-suppressed resentment was concentrated and erupted. All kinds of things, like a connected chain, did not give Chu Hin the slightest chance to breathe. Jia, stay here. Stay here and wait for the person you are looking for. All kinds of complex and ear-piercing sounds had already driven Chu Hin crazy. Chu Hin let out a loud roar, then unleashed an earth-shattering power. A blood-red light surged within his ice-cold pupils. Chu Hin's biting cold gaze coldly stared at the continuously expanding spatial devouring hole in the sky. Not far away, Luo Mengchong's face was pale. She shouted and rushed towards Chu Hin. No, whoosh! The moment his voice fell, Chu Hin directly leaped into the sky, like a beam of aurora, and rushed towards the vortex-devouring hole that exuded the aura of the sky-devouring hole. The space-devouring hole, which had already covered more than half of the ancient city, was like the mouth of a prehistoric giant opening an abyss. Chu Hin was like a small butterfly in a storm. His cold, bloody eyes stared at the mysterious and dark devouring hole, and a strong, evil aura erupted, like a judge fighting against divine punishment. No! Luo Mengchong's pretty face was pale, and crystal-clear tears quietly slid down her cheeks. The endless devouring aura shrouded down. Chu Hin, who had lost his mind, blindly rushed towards the collapsing space-devouring hole. The terrifying chaotic currents that originated from the devouring hole were enough to crush the other party into pieces in an instant. Luo Mengchong's eyes were filled with grief, and her heart felt like it was being stabbed by a knife. No, she weakly pleaded. Buzz! Suddenly, just as Chu Hin approached the entrance of the space-devouring hole, the inside of the devouring hole, which contained the endless aura of the dark abyss, suddenly erupted with an incomparably dazzling and gorgeous golden light. The space trembled violently, and the dense golden light was like an exploding star. Bang! With a loud noise, a fierce and powerful shock wave spread out from within. Chu Hin, who was near the edge of the devouring hole, was directly shaken back. Seeing this, Luo Mengchong's heartstrings trembled. Without any hesitation, without even wiping away her tears, she immediately flew forward and gently brought Chu Hin into her embrace. Chu Hin's eyes flashed red. Mengchong, quickly. However, before Chu Hin could finish his words, Luo Mengchong's gentle red lips directly blocked Chu Hin's hot mouth. The cool and fragrant touch made Chu Hen's body involuntarily tremble. His pupils shrank, and the surging blood light in his eyes slightly receded. Luo Mengchang's eyes were filled with tears as she turned around and tightly hugged Chu Hen. Fool! After waiting for so many years, I finally returned to your side. How can I leave alone? Luo Mengchang looked straight into Chu Hen's eyes, and their lips reluctantly parted. Her intelligent and beautiful eyes reflected the face of the most important person in her life. Looking at the beauty's devastatingly beautiful face, as well as her soft and delicate body, Chu Hen's heart trembled slightly, and he could not help but be a little absent-minded. Buzz! At the same time, a dazzling golden brilliance was once again released from the space-devouring cave that was erupting with a strong energy fluctuation. The golden rain of light that covered the sky and covered the earth was like the fragments of a falling meteor. Tens of thousands of golden meteor fragments flew towards the place where Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang were. Something unbelievable happened. Countless fragments of various sizes were scattered around the two in an orderly manner. Then, countless rays of light, like the aurora rays, quickly connected all the fragments together, forming a mysterious three-dimensional constellation array in an instant. However, at this moment, Chu Hen only stared at Luo Mengchang's breathtakingly exquisite face with a complicated expression. You're the fool. I'm trapped by the heart demon. I can't get out. Chu Hen had never felt so close to the aura of the heart beast and the demon god. He could even smell the evil stench hidden in another space. The aura that originated from them was like an iron chain that firmly held onto Chu Hen. However, Luo Mengchang shook her head and replied softly, You're trapped by the heart demon, and so am I. You're my heart demon. I can't get out. Are you stupid? What can I do? Luo Mengchang smiled. She wrapped her arms around Chu Hen's neck, and the tips of their noses gently touched each other, feeling the familiar aura of the other. Don't even think of getting rid of me. After saying that, Luo Mengchang once again kissed the corner of Chu Hen's mouth. Chu Hen closed his eyes and hugged Luo Mengchang's delicate body tightly in his arms. The two of them seemed to be in the midst of thousands of stars, hugging and snuggling in the vast and endless river of the universe. Clang! Boom! An apocalyptic storm raged, and the scene of the collapse of the apocalypse shrouded them. In an instant, the ancient city above their heads and the ancient city below them all collapsed, and the space around the two of them also shattered like a broken mirror. A large-scale space-devouring whole began to devour this world. At the same moment that the entire space collapsed, the countless golden fragments floating around Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang directly gathered together, turning into a thick golden wall that enveloped the two of them. Inside the narrow space that was overflowing with light, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchang hugged and kissed each other deeply. Luo Mengchang's appearance was peerless, and her delicate figure was even more attractive. Her white skin was like snow, and it seemed as if it could be broken with a light touch. Under Chu Hen's gentle caress, Luo Mengchang's beautiful eyes gradually revealed a little blurred. She could only nervously hug Chu Hen, not daring to move. The atmosphere in the world that belonged to the two of them gradually became erotic and dreamy. Meanwhile, the ethereal space continued to collapse, as if a world-destroying storm was raging, and the terrifying space-devouring whole minced everything. All right, the female lead that you wanted has been pushed down, and I'm embarrassed to write. Chapter 1578. 1 second to remember. The wonderful pop-up window is free to read. Boom! The collapse of the space in the misty sky was especially violent, and the hole that devoured the space was spreading rapidly. The folded world collapsed inch by inch, like an exploding mirror, and the raging black storm formed an extremely frightening scene of the end of the world. The entire misty sky seemed to be stirred into a terrible black hole. Countless terrifying spatial turbulence crisscrossed, wanting to destroy and devour everything. However, at the same moment that the world collapsed, The tens of thousands of golden fragments that flew out of nowhere formed a golden wall, enveloping Chu Hen and Luo Mengshan. Looking from afar, there seemed to be an oval-shaped golden stone cocoon floating in the collapsed void. The powerful spatial distortion force struck the golden stone cocoon, but was actually as stable as a tough boulder in a storm, calm and unmoving. Boom! The dark storm that could devour heaven and earth swept through the misty ancient city, and it spread to other areas at a particularly terrifying speed. The forest outside the city that was condensed from the spiritual body was also attacked like a primordial tsunami. Countless small animals, flowers, and trees in the forest, all of them were torn apart by the distorted space. "It's that man's power!" The giant guard slowly raised his head. His ghost-like eyes gazed at the golden stone cocoon floating in the chaotic sky as he yelled in a muffled voice. 3,000 great Daos, Chaos Heaven Palm. Boom! Immediately afterward, the giant guard's huge body was crushed by the collapsing space. However, something even more surprising happened. All the spiritual bodies that had collapsed between heaven and earth turned into beams of gorgeous golden light that shot into the sky and surged toward the golden stone cocoon floating in the void. In an instant, the golden stone cocoon was surrounded by thousands of dazzling rays of light. The conditions for the formation of a spiritual body were extremely harsh. Only when the concentration of spiritual qi reached a very high level and after countless years of convergence and fusion would it give rise to various forms. In other words, any kind of spiritual body would contain extremely dense spiritual power. Even a small and graceful spirit butterfly contained extremely pure and powerful spirit energy. Furthermore, everything in the entire forest outside Ethereal City was a spiritual entity born from heaven and earth. This power was as majestic as a river and as vast as the ocean. Buzz, one by one, the trees crumbled into shadows, turning into enchanting, dreamy fragments that floated into the sky. Rats, rabbits, deer, and other wild beasts of various sizes also transformed into swirling shadows of light and flew into the sky. Innumerable swirling rays of light leaped up from the collapsed ground and shot into the heavenly river. It was an extremely spectacular scene, as if millions of stars were rising against the heavens, unrestrained by any gravity. The instant collapse was indescribably beautiful. The sky and the earth disintegrated in an instant, like a destructive art created by the gods of creation. It was stunning and beautiful. The entire world collapsed and shattered, and the surging power formed by the spiritual body continuously poured into the stone cocoon that wrapped around Chu Hen and Luo Mengshan. Inextricably linked, it was like a galaxy ring. From afar, the stone cocoon looked like a mysterious celestial body floating in the vast star domain, absorbing the boundless spiritual qi that was surging towards it from all directions at an extremely fast speed. Rumble. At this moment, the inside and outside of the heavenly mystery palace was in chaos. Palace Master, something bad has happened. The ethereal sky is collapsing. What? Mu Fei, who was reading the scrolls, heard the commotion outside and immediately put down the scroll in her hand and flew outside. The wind raged and the sky trembled uneasily. The sky above the heavenly mystery palace was enveloped in an incomparably dark gray storm. East, above the many immortal talisman trees, the boundary gate leading to the ethereal sky seemed to have encountered a huge brute force, expanding outwards at a speed visible to the naked eye. From the initial diameter of a few meters, it expanded to a width of 100 meters in the blink of an eye. It was like a destructive hurricane that came from the heavens, constantly pouring down. The immortal talisman trees below all shook uneasily, and a few immortal talisman trees even drilled through the soil, forcibly uprooted. We need to close the spirit formation passage as soon as possible. When Mu Fei hurried to the area of the immortal talisman trees, the white-clothed and black-clothed old men guarding the area said in a deep voice, "No!" Old Monkey, who had also rushed over, hurriedly stopped him. If we close the passage at this time, Chu Hen and the others won't be able to come out. Nonsense. The black-clothed old man sternly berated. Do you know what the current situation is? Once the space within the misty sky collapses and extends out, our entire heavenly mystery palace will suffer. If it's serious, even the immortal seal region will be plunged into misery and suffering. The white-clothed old man's expression was also incomparably solemn. He raised his head to look at the terrifying storm that was like a giant beast that could devour the heavens, and said with a face full of shock, "Ever since our heavenly mystery palace took control of the immortal seal region, such a large-scale collapse has never occurred in the misty sky. I'm afraid that the space inside no longer exists, and those two are most likely dead." But Old Monkey wanted to say more. Rumble. Wind and thunder exploded. Waves of air surged into the sky, accompanied by an enormous gravitational force that devoured the heavens. A few immortal talisman trees directly broke free from the gravity of the earth and were forcefully pulled out of the ground, being swept up into the sky by the biting cold whirlwind. Under countless pairs of incomparably shocked gazes, the few immortal talisman trees were swept into the black passageway and then instantly turned to dust. Heavens! The expressions of all the disciples of the heavenly mystery palace who witnessed this scene changed drastically, all of them pale with fright. Old Monkey, the white-clothed old man, the black-clothed old man, and the others were also greatly alarmed. Seeing this, the palace master of the heavenly mystery palace, Mu Fei, no longer hesitated. He said in a deep voice, "Close the passage." "You." Old Monkey's brows furrowed, but when the words reached his mouth, he hesitated. He himself knew very well in his heart what kind of terrifying outcome the collapse of the entire misty sky would cause. It was simply unrealistic for just Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong to sacrifice the entire immortal seal region. Moreover, in this kind of situation, the two of them had no way of escaping. The white-clothed old man and the black-clothed old man did not hesitate in the slightest. The two of them immediately sat below the 10,000-year immortal talisman tree, and their eyes, which were filled with countless cautiousness, exploded with a sharp cold light. "Seal!" The two of them shouted loudly, and a vast river of Reiki energy gushed out from their Niwen palace. Whoosh! A formless wave of air spread out, and all the immortal talisman trees in the entire forest shone with luxurious and resplendent talisman light. Buzz buzz, the 10,000-year immortal talisman tree in the center area then exploded with a vigorous and vast silver pillar of light. The pillar of light shot straight into the sky, and with the talisman light from the other immortal talisman trees, it formed a complex, strange, and beautiful formation. Under the high-speed operation of the talisman formation, it was as if an incomparably beautiful umbrella was opened in the sky. Then, the gray storm that wreaked havoc in the sky above the heavenly mystery palace quickly retreated towards the broken spirit formation passageway entrance. For example, along the retreating tide at the entrance of the dam, the spirit formation entrance that was constantly being pushed open also started to shrink. Looking at the quickly sealed passageway entrance, Old Monkey's hands clenched into fists, his gaze fixed on the sky. What he hoped to see was that, the instant before the passageway entrance closed, those two familiar figures would be able to rush out at the last moment. However, a miracle did not occur. Buzz, the moment the spatial passageway entrance was completely sealed, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong still did not appear. The fierce wind that was wreaking havoc gradually calmed down. The shaking heaven and earth also returned to calmness. Along with it, there was also the passageway that had gathered in the sky these 2 days that connected to the misty sky. The heavenly mystery palace once again returned to peace. The white-robed old man, the black-robed old man, as well as the other elders and disciples of the sect, could not help but heave a sigh of relief. However, Old Monkey and Palace Master Mu Fei could only helplessly shake their heads in regret. Sigh. Old Monkey sighed deeply. The thing that he was most worried about had finally happened. The space of the misty sky collapsed so completely. It almost extended to the outside world. The situation was much worse than he had imagined. Under such a situation, would Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong still have a way out? Oldie Monkey did not dare to imagine. Chapter 1579. Inside a dark and secluded hall, a deep and indistinct ancient voice swayed in the air. In the darkness, the indistinct voice seemed to originate from the chaotic universe. Chu Rantian's son has gone to the misty sky. In the darkness, a deep, cold, yet dignified voice sounded from the left side of the hall. Umph. The divine mystery palace is quite daring to open the misty sky passage for him. Then, a disdainful sneer came from the right side. But unfortunately, the space inside the misty sky collapsed this morning. It almost reached outside the immortal seal region. Ha ha ha. So the father and son are buried together? What a regrettable piece of news. Don't celebrate too early. It's still unknown whether Chu Rantian is dead or not. Don't forget, the blood of the divine emperor flows in the bodies of the primal chaos race. At these words, the voice from the right side paused. Divine emperor. Even though these two words have been spoken tens of thousands of years ago, it was still like a warning. No need to worry. At this moment, a cold, indifferent voice came from above the hall. Whether Chu Rantian is dead or alive, there's nothing to worry about. In the darkness on the stone throne, a mysterious eye that seemed to be hidden under the claws of a devil slowly opened. Invisible spatial vibrations overlapped, and a supreme golden light flickered faintly in the eye. Time passed day by day. The atmosphere between the continents of the major domains gradually became indescribably restless. It was like a surging undercurrent that disturbed every corner of the world. The crimson moon descended, the divine star guarded. A crimson moon hung high in the night sky. Unlike before, there were now two bright stars on the east and west sides of the crimson moon. Moreover, the crimson moon was much larger than before. It gave people the feeling that it was much closer to the world. The blood moon is getting closer and closer to us. Is the world of chaos coming? The Midland, the Eastern Domain, and all the other realms sank into a tense atmosphere. Moreover, this atmosphere continued to intensify as time passed. What chaos? When has this world ever been truly peaceful? That's true. Crimson Moon's appearance only means that the Saint Clan meeting is about to begin. But it's said that the Sacred Race Convention this time will be a little different from the previous ones. If things aren't handled well, a certain race might be kicked out of the 10 strongest sacred races, and that race might very well become the strongest ruler after the Chaos God race and wield the Heavenly Emperor's writ. The Blood Moon had descended, and the Sacred Star would be guarded. Unknowingly, the various great powers in the entire world had already become restless because of the upcoming Sacred Race Conference. For some people, it was a suffocating pressure. The False Realm, Imperial Purple City. The Sacred Race Convention is approaching, but they really don't give anyone a chance to catch their breath above the city gate tower. The hunched back of the fourth elder seemed especially small on the city wall, lonely and old, with an indescribable sorrow and bitterness. He raised his head to look at the blood moon that resembled the eye of an evil beast. His cloudy eyes were filled with sorrow. At this moment, two tall and burly figures slowly stepped onto the city tower, one on the left and one on the right behind the fourth elder. One of them was a heavenly wolf star guard, Rao Feiluan. The other was a lone star guard, Li Wushang. Their expressions were also indescribably deep and complicated. The Sacred Race Convention. It was extremely important to the 10 strongest Saint clans. However, the Sacred Race Convention this time was like adding snow to snow for the demon pupil Saint clan. It came at a bad time. Li Kuan has been in closed-door cultivation since last month. If everything goes well, he'll be able to reach the quasi-emperor stage before the Sacred Race Convention. Rao Feiluan glanced at Li Wushang with a hint of pride in her eyes. The fourth elder turned around and nodded with a gratified expression. Looks like the recent news isn't all bad. If Li Kuan can step into the quasi-emperor stage, it'll be a form of insurance for us. Subsequently, the fourth elder looked at Li Wuxiang and asked, "Where's Chu Hen now?" Li Wuxiang paused for a moment before he replied. The reply from the Eastern Victory State is that Chu Hen went to the Celestial Talisman region with Luo Mengchong from the Nine Nether Saint clan last month. Oh, the Nine Nether Saint clan? The fourth elder's eyes lit up faintly. Then, he said, "He'll be back before the Sacred Race Convention starts, right?" "I think so," Li Wuxiang replied. The fourth elder sighed again. To the Demon Pupil Saint clan, the Sacred Race Convention, this time, was an unavoidable calamity. Could it be that they had survived the calamity? Or perhaps it was impossible to escape the calamity. Rumble, rumble. The cliff was like a giant blade, and the spectacular waterfall was like the Milky Way that fell from the nine heavens. The waves crashed into the thousand layers, and the water splashed into the sky. The dazzling sunlight shone on the inside and outside of the mountain stream, forming an arc-shaped rainbow in the refraction of water vapor. Clang! Suddenly, a bolt of divine thunder exploded, and the sky darkened. Along with an unparalleled berserk momentum, a bolt of lightning pierced through the sky like an apocalyptic divine punishment. Boom! In an instant, a huge mountain on the opposite side of the broken wall was directly split in half. Along with the dust that had spread out, the mountain range slowly spread out to both sides. The gap in the middle was extremely neat and smooth like the surface of a mirror. Even though the giant mountain was split in half, the cliff where the waterfall flowed was not affected at all. Even the flow of the waterfall did not change at all. This was an extremely terrifying control of power. Apart from the target, no one else would be affected at all. The degree of accuracy was not the slightest bit off. Splash! The waterfall rushed down from the 1,000-foot cliff to the valley below. A bare-chested young figure stood in the pool, not moving an inch despite the heavy impact of the waterfall. His brows were cold, and his burly figure was full of youthful vigor. In his hand, he held a sharp sword. The sword was intertwined with a series of incomparably manic silver lightning. It was obvious that the thunderous sword that split heaven and earth just now came from this person. Whoosh! At this moment, a hurried afterimage flew over from outside the valley. He landed on a rock by the side of the pool and respectfully knelt on one knee. "Lord Thunder Kun, I finally found you." The young figure under the waterfall turned slightly, and a proud smile appeared on his face. "The Sacred Clan Conference is about to start. I know," he sneered disdainfully, and an invisible sharp and domineering aura was revealed. Thunder Kuin's eyes faintly flashed with dazzling arcs. "I have something to do today, so I'll take half a day off." Interested readers can join the QQ group to discuss the plot, make friends, and chat. There are many brothers, sisters, and crossdressers in the group. Yes, crossdressers. Administrators who want to join the group, add the WeChat group. Divine King Wu Ji Book Friends Exchange Group. 149825000. Chapter 1580. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, more than 2 months had passed since the spatial storm in the mystical Heavenly Palace. The Celestial Seal Domain had gradually forgotten what had happened that day. Meanwhile, the Sacred Race Convention had long since become a hot topic in the various domains. There's only about a month left until the Sacred Race Convention, right? Probably. I have a feeling that something big will happen this time. It's been 10,000 years. The Heavenly Emperor token should have a successor. That clan will definitely become the new ruler. There's also a clan that will probably be replaced as one of the 10 strongest sacred clans. Which clan are you talking about? Haha. Everyone knows that a certain clan's current strength is no longer worthy of the title of the strongest sacred clan. I have to admit that I'm really looking forward to the Saint Clan meeting this time. The rising popularity continued to spread across the continents of the major domains. Although the Sacred Race Convention had yet to begin, everyone was already looking forward to it. The misty sky, a completely collapsed space, a plane that was isolated from the rest of the world. The original environment of the misty sky no longer existed, and the original appearance of the folded plains had also disappeared. The yellow sand desert, the overturned star field, the spiritual body forest, and the ethereal ancient city had all disappeared along with the spatial collapse 2 months ago. What replaced them was an ethereal and boundless world of chaos. The sky, the earth up and down, left and right. At a glance, it was all hazy, and the entire space was like a turbid corner of the endless universe. There was no heaven and earth, no day and night. In the distance, stars could faintly be seen in the galaxy. And in this vast and boundless world of chaos, a completely enclosed object that looked like a stone cocoon quietly floated in the void. Under the dark sky, it was like a speck of dust floating in the starry universe. Inside the stone cocoon, the space inside was quite spacious. Chu-Hen's upper body was bare. His strong and powerful body formed a perfect arc coupled with his handsome face. Chu-Hen's body emitted an aura that transcended into sainthood. He sat quietly in front of a wall, his gaze still filled with doubt as he stared at the mysterious and complicated runes on the stone wall. At this moment, a pair of fair arms wrapped around Chu-Hen's neck from behind. "What are you thinking about?" Luo Mengchong leaned lightly on Chu-Hen's shoulder like a playful little girl. She wore a chiffon evening dress, and her exquisite figure was flawless. Chu-Hen smiled and gently held Luo Mengchong's small hand. Then, he turned to look back, and the two looked at each other at close range. Then, Chu-Hen's other hand wrapped around her slender waist, causing her to cling tightly to him. "Guess." "I can't guess." Luo Mengchong's cheeks were slightly red. She gently pressed her palm against Chu-Hen's shoulder and stared at Chu-Hen with her beautiful eyes. She said, "Behave yourself. I'm now a quasi-emperor powerhouse. Try and bully me if you dare." "Wow, quasi-emperor realm." Chu-Hen pretended to exclaim in surprise. On the surface, he pretended to be afraid. Then, taking advantage of Luo Mengchong being unprepared, he leaned forward and lightly pressed Luo Mengchong under him. "I've successfully taken down a quasi-emperor powerhouse. Tell me, what should I do with her next?" A mischievous smile appeared at the corner of Chu-Hen's mouth. Luo Mengchong was angry and amused at the same time. "You're a bad person. I don't want to play with you." Luo Mengchong pouted slightly, and her watery eyes rippled slightly. In Chu-Hen's eyes, it was pitiful, beautiful, and moving. Without waiting for Luo Mengchong to resist, Chu-Hen directly kissed her delicate red lips. Crack! At this moment, a crisp cracking sound came from the surroundings. In the next instant, the stone cocoon that enveloped the two of them began to rapidly open up with countless cracks of various sizes. Then, with a muffled bang, the thick walls in the surroundings quietly collapsed and caved in. Chu-Hen was slightly shocked. "Someone's coming?" Luo Mengchong also quickly pushed Chu-Hen away. After all, it was her first time having sex, and Luo Mengchong's shy feelings had yet to recede. She was afraid that someone would suddenly appear. In comparison, Chu-Hen was much more magnanimous. He pursed his lips as if he had not had enough. "Quickly put on your clothes. We have to think of a way to leave this place," Luo Mengchong reminded Chu-Hen as she put on her clothes. Looking at Luo Mengchong's cute appearance with a little panic, a gentle smile appeared on Chu-Hen's face. The most important person was right in front of him. What else could be happier than this? Chu-Hen looked at the surrounding environment. The misty sky in front of him seemed to be in chaos. He did not know where the sky was and where the earth was. It was endless in all directions. He could not see the sun, the moon, or anything else. Chu-Hen and Luo Mengchong were like two specks of dust floating in the chaotic universe, with no direction to speak of. And around the two of them, there were countless large and small gravel floating in the air. These gravel were like meteorite fragments in the starfield universe. How could this be? Luo Mengchong, who had already tidied up her clothes, looked around in a daze. The world we saw before has already collapsed. This should be the original form of the misty sky. Chu-Hen explained. "Where is the exit?" "I don't know." Chu-Hen shook his head, a solemn look in his eyes. Thinking back to the scene of the collapse of the misty sky, it was definitely like the end of the world. The whole world had collapsed. It was unbelievable that he and Luo Mengchong had survived. Then, Chu Hen stared solemnly at the strange gravel floating around the two of them. I seem to remember that it was these things that protected us back then. Luo Mengchong also recalled. Yes. Chu Hen nodded. Were they? Luo Mengchong asked. The corners of Chu Hen's eyes turned cold. He hesitated for a moment before replying in a deep voice. If I'm not wrong, these are the fragments of the Great Path Divine Stone. The Great Path Divine Stone? Luo Mengchong was stunned. Chu Hen nodded again. Then, a touch of determination flashed in his eyes. Try it and you'll know why. As soon as he finished speaking, a particularly majestic aura suddenly burst out of Chu Hen's body. Along with the opened True Origin Purple Palace, a desolate and ancient aura surged out like a torrent. Buzz, buzz, accompanied by a slight distortion in the space. Chu Hen twisted his 5 fingers in the air. In an instant, a black stone tablet with a majestic aura appeared in the void. The invisible, huge aura caused the surrounding space to tremble faintly. The black stone tablet was full of mysterious ancient aura. However, in the next moment, something amazing happened. The countless gravel floating around the two of them emitted bursts of strange rhythmic movements. Zung! Like a restless herd of beasts, each fragment glowed with brilliant colors. Then, large and small, hundreds of millions of densely packed gravel, like a meteor shower across the sky, flew toward the Great Path Divine Stone that Chu Hen had summoned. It was as if a strong gravitational force had gathered. The fragments stuck to the Great Path Divine Stone and then arranged themselves along the edges and corners of the stone. The scene was spectacular. The fragments that filled the sky could be said to be arranged in an orderly manner, inlaid with each other, like a giant 3-dimensional puzzle. Under the surprised gazes of Luo Mengchong and Chu Hen, the volume of the Great Path Divine Stone more than doubled from its original base. It was like a peerless mountain floating in front of the two of them. The cracks all over the Divine Stone flickered with brilliant light. The patterns of light flowed like electric arcs. Whoosh! After a dazzling light swept past, the cracks caused by the arrangement of the fragments rapidly shrank, incomparably tight, until not a single gap could be seen. Looking at the thousands of flickering lights, as if shrouded in divine light, Chu Hen's mind also felt as if it was being pulled. He subconsciously stepped forward, walking in front of the Great Path Divine Stone. Then, Chu Hen involuntarily raised his hand, gently placing his palm on the surface of the Great Path Divine Stone. Buzz! The moment Chu Hen's palm touched the surface of the Great Path Divine Stone, his body suddenly trembled, as if his entire body had been hit by a huge electric current. All the dazzling talisman lights swimming around the Great Path Divine Stone gathered toward Chu Hen's palm. Rumble! It was as if thunder had exploded in Chu Hen's mind. An ancient and distant voice quietly reached his ears. 3,000 Great Paths, Chaos Palm. This method is called the Great Path Scripture. Chapter 1581. The 3,000 Great Paths, Chaos Heaven Palm. This technique is called the Great Path Scripture. Buzz! A thunderous sound exploded in Chu Hen's mind. The Great Path Divine Stone, which was as majestic as a mountain, bloomed with thousands of dazzling ancient runes. Like a flowing electric net, mysterious runes quickly gathered in Chu Hen's palm, like an endless ancient curse, invading Chu Hen's mind. Then, Chu Hen's pupils dilated, and his consciousness was suddenly dragged into a vast and endless ethereal world. Time flew, and day and night alternated. With the separation of the chaotic sun and moon, Chu Hen's eyes seemed to pass through the birth of all things, the operation of the 5 elements, and the initial separation of yin and yang. Then the mountains and rivers absorbed all rivers, and the qi swallowed the qi of the universe. Chu Hen seemed to be wandering the universe, from nothingness to existence, from ethereal to all things, and the operation of heaven and earth. The sun and moon were all reflected in Chu Hen's eyes. What's wrong? At this time, Luo Mengshang's concerned voice came from behind. Buzz! The ethereal all things, the rotation of the sun and moon, In the depths of Chu Hen's eyes quietly faded. He came back to his senses and looked at Luo Mengshang sideways, his expression a little strange. Did it take a long time? What do you mean? Luo Mengshang did not understand. Chu Hen shook his head and sighed softly. I seem to have gone to another world just now, and it felt like a long time had passed. Luo Mengshang smiled lightly. Only to the count of 3. Where could you have gone? Only to the count of 3? Chu Hen was a little surprised. Then what did you see? Luo Mengshang asked. Chu Hen had a thoughtful look, and if he wanted to ask what he saw, he could not say. Just like the changes of heaven and earth, the birth of the sun and moon, in this great path realm, humans were like mayflies trying to shake a tree, exceptionally small. Seeing that Chu Hen was also confused, Luo Mengshang could not help but feel funny. All right, don't think about it anymore. You're right, these really are the fragments of the great Tao, divine stone. As she spoke, Luo Mengshang looked at the majestic great path divine stone in front of her. Chu Hen's attention returned to the black stone tablet that was exuding an ancient and desolate aura. Compared to before, the size of the great Tao divine stone had doubled, but the surface of the tablet was still not complete, and there were still very obvious broken edges and corners at the top. In other words, the divine stone of the great path in front of them was only a part of it. It's my father, Chu Hen said in a deep tone. Luo Mengshang's beautiful eyes flickered, a little puzzled. Chu Hen pursed his lips slightly, and his eyes were filled with respect. It was my father who set up the inhibition formation here, with the fragments of the divine stone of the great path. He knew that I would come here. Once the misty sky collapsed, the inhibition formation here would be triggered. He protected us, although it was just a guess. But Chu Hen firmly believed it. Previously at the Heavenly Mystery Palace, Mu Fei had already said that Chu Qintian had predicted that Chu Hen would come. Coupled with the great path scripture hidden in the fragments of the divine stone, Chu Hen was almost certain that this was something that Chu Qintian had left for him. Looking at Chu Hen's slightly red eyes, Luo Mengshang's heartstrings trembled slightly. She hugged him gently and said, "It's okay. I guess they are definitely alive, but they just can't come to see you immediately." Chu Hen nodded deeply. He allowed a long sigh of relief. "Yes, I also believe that they are still alive, and I also believe that I will definitely see them in the future." Chu Hen hugged Luo Mengshang's slender waist affectionately, his chin resting lightly on her cheek, a pair of hopeful eyes gazing at the vast misty sky river in front of them. At this moment, Chu Hen caught a glimpse of something out of the corner of his eye and could not help but let out a cry of surprise. "What's wrong?" Luo Mengshang looked up at him. "Look over there. Over there." Following Chu Hen's direction, Luo Mengshang looked to the side and saw that in the hazy void of chaos, a black shadow was floating towards them from afar. Looking at it from afar, it was a strange, dark and dark-colored tree. The tree's crown was especially huge, and the branches that branched out were like a three-dimensional net, but there was not a single leaf on the entire tree. "It's that evil tree." Luo Mengshang's pretty face changed slightly. Previously, it was precisely because of that evil tree that directly awakened Chu Hen's inner demons. He originally thought that with the collapse of the misty sky, the tree would also be destroyed, but he did not expect it to still exist here. This ancient tree is actually so powerful that it was actually not destroyed. Chu Hen was also somewhat surprised. He looked at the giant black monument behind him. Perhaps only a treasure of the same level as the Great Path Divine Stone could withstand the terrifying destructive power produced by the collapse of space. "I'll go and push it further away," Luo Mengshang said. However, before she could act, she was stopped by Chu Hen. "It's all right. My inner demons have been suppressed, and I won't be disturbed by it anymore." "Really?" "Yes." Chu Hen gently held her delicate little face, and there was gentleness between his brows. "During this period of time, I've accepted a lot of things, and I will no longer be stubborn about many things. Every life and death experience was like the ups and downs of life." Chu Hen knew that if it was not for his stubbornness, The inner demons would not have found an opportunity to take advantage of him, and it was also because of his stubbornness that Luo Mengshang almost died. After accepting the past, Chu Hen's state of mind had also changed beyond before, and the inner demons were once again suppressed. Rumble! Suddenly, a thunderstorm suddenly appeared in the misty sky above. Rapid and piercing waves of air spread in all directions, and the sky was once again torn open, forming a huge gap. The space was about to collapse again. Chu Hen was suddenly shocked. Luo Mengshang's pretty face also turned pale. Wasn't the space stable? Buzz, just as the two of them were shocked, a brilliant golden beam of light spilled in from the gap in the space. Then a familiar voice came from behind. Chu Hen, are you and your wife still alive? It's Senior Old Een Monkey. Chu Hen's eyes lit up, and he looked at Luo Mengshang, both surprised and happy. We're still here. Chu Hen hurriedly shouted. Oh my God, you're really not dead? You're too tough. Old Een Monkey's voice was obviously excited. Hurry, come out quickly, hurry, all right. After saying that, Chu Hen's heart trembled, and the violet palace of true essence opened. A rich golden light wrapped around the great Tao divine stone, and it was directly absorbed into his body. Just as Chu Hen was about to leave with Luo Mengshang, out of the corner of his eye, he once again glanced at the evil tree floating in the ethereal void. After a moment of hesitation, Chu Hen let go of Luo Mengshang's lily-white hand. Mengshang, wait for me at the entrance of the passage, huh? Luo Mengshang was taken aback, but she quickly understood what Chu Hen was going to do. Okay, be careful. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. After saying that, the two immediately separated. Luo Mengshang took the lead and flew to the gap in the space that was sprinkling golden sacred light. Chu Hen's figure moved, and he immediately arrived in front of the dark ancient tree. The huge dark ancient tree was like a monster born from the chaotic universe, and the tens of thousands of runes on its surface were dark like demonic runes. Hua! Chu Hen's eyes turned cold, and in an instant, an extraordinary aura surged out, and his Naiwan palace opened wide. Along with the opening of his Naiwan palace, a loud roar echoed out as a tree-like monster with beast claws dashed out. In the process of moving, the rune beast's body rapidly enlarged, and in the blink of an eye, it turned into a huge beast that was hundreds of feet tall. Its body flickered with countless beautiful runes, and it stretched out its front claws, directly pouncing towards the ancient evil tree. Just as the rune beast hugged the huge trunk of the evil tree, the dark runes that covered the whole of the evil tree suddenly exploded with a strong and dazzling light. Along with the trembling of the space, a dense fiendish and evil aura suddenly rose up. It was like a blood-colored demonic barrier, rushing straight into the heavenly river. Wah! The monstrous evil aura directly gathered above the evil tree, forming a huge, hideous skull devil shadow. The terrifying evil aura was like a huge tentacle, quickly wrapping around the rune beast's body, firmly tying it to the tree. The hideous devil shadow let out an ear-piercing roar. Devil flames rose, and it seemed like it was going to devour the rune beast. Rumble! The intense collision between the two directly caused the illusory space to shake uneasily again. The golden beam of light that poured in from the gap in the space above also seemed to have encountered an impact, shrinking at a speed that could be seen by the naked eye. What are you two doing inside? Old Een Monkey's anxious voice suddenly came from the outside. Don't mess around. Boss, this passage is very fragile. It won't last long. Upon hearing Old Een Monkey's words, Luo Mengshang, who had already reached the exit, could not help but frown, looking worriedly at Chu Hen below. However, in response to Old Een Monkey's urging, Chu Hen paused for a moment. Then he slightly closed his eyes and suddenly raised them. Screech! Sharp and rapid waves of air trembled in all directions. Accompanied by an especially strong spatial rhythm, Chu Hen's eyes suddenly burst out a bewitching and demonic purple light. In an instant, a terrifying bloodline power that far surpassed the 7-star demon eyes shrouded the huge, dark, ancient tree. Hua, an endless ice-cold aura spread in all directions, and the earth-shattering purple light beams were like countless sharp arrows shuttling between heaven and earth, crisscrossing inside and outside of the tree. Hiss! A series of air currents were sliced and torn apart, and the sinister skull shadow was instantly crushed by the purple light that filled the sky. Kiki! Then the talisman beast suddenly opened its huge mouth. The rapidly expanding mouth was like a boundless dark abyss, erupting with extremely terrifying, devouring power. Buzz buzz, purple light like rising flames covered the entire evil tree, and the evil aura was quickly suppressed. Then, the huge tree showed a dreamy distortion, like a floating reflection on the surface of the water, turned into a nebula whirlpool, and was then swallowed by the talisman beast. Once swallowed the evil tree, the talisman beast's entire body immediately overflowed with a strong, cold, evil aura. Even its eyes became vertical and blood-red, like that of a ferocious demon. Come back. Without caring about anything else, Chu Hen directly recalled the talisman beast. The latter immediately turned around and quickly leaped toward Chu Hen. At the same time, its huge body also rapidly shrunk, turning into an illusory, flowing light. Wah! A vast and vigorous red halo spread out from Chu Hen's body, and the talisman beast directly turned into a ray of light, drilling into Chu Hen's Naiwan palace. Chu Hen, Luo Mengchong called out anxiously, "Hurry up!" Chu Hen immediately turned around, riding the wind. Buzz! The light beam that poured and became smaller and smaller, and the gap in the passageway narrowed to less than 2 meters wide. It's over. It's over. I'm really going to die of anger because of you. Outside, the olding monkey was so angry that he slapped his thigh. Immediately after, the golden light beam rapidly weakened, returning to an illusory state. However, the distance between Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong was still a few miles. However, at this moment, Chu Hen's demonic purple eyes once again flashed with a strange light. Swoosh! In the next moment, a vigorous wind stacked beside Luo Mengchong, and the latter's beautiful eyes were stunned. Before she could react, Chu Hen's warm and strong palm had already firmly grasped her small hand. Let's go! At the critical moment, just as the golden light beam dissipated, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong immediately flashed into the passageway in the space gap. Chapter 1582. It's over, it's over. I'm really going to be angered to death by the two of them, Heavenly Mystery Palace. In the sky above the manor filled with immortal talisman trees, the spatial passageway that had been closed for 2 months was once again opened. However, compared to 2 months ago, the situation this time was completely different. Because of the collapse of the space within the misty sky, the already fragile inner realm became even more unstable. Therefore, the duration of the passage connecting to the misty sky was very short. The gray storm was like a galaxy whirlpool that engulfed the heavens and earth, enveloping the sky above the Heavenly Mystery Palace. As he approached the entrance of the passageway, the olding monkey was so anxious that he slapped his thigh. Seeing that the spatial crack was quickly closing up, Palace Master Mu Fei and the 2 white-clothed and black-clothed elders below all frowned slightly, their expressions grave. What's going on? Why did the passageway to the misty sky open again? Many of the disciples in the Heavenly Mystery Palace looked at the sky in confusion. I heard that Han Yu has been clamoring for the Palace Master to open the connection again, saying that he thinks that those 2 people are still alive. Are you kidding? The collapse of the misty sky was so severe that even an Emperor stage expert would not have a corpse left. Looking at Han Yu, it seems that they are indeed still alive. Even though it had been 2 months, in anyone's opinion, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong were already in a situation of certain death. However, the olding monkey still held on to that 1 in a million hope. From his point of view, Chu Hen was not an ordinary person. His father, Chu Ran Tian, and his mother, Li Jixia, were even more extraordinary. It was also because to the olding monkey, Chu Hen could be said to be his only friend. Therefore, he wanted to give a try. He wanted to see if Chu Hen was still alive. Unexpectedly, that 1 in a million chance had been fulfilled by the old Een monkey. However, before he could finish being happy, Chu Hen and Luo Mengxiang did not come out, causing the old Een monkey to be anxious and annoyed. I say, Chu Hen brat, don't be so pretentious. Although I can commit sins, I also know that my life is more important. Buzz. Just as old Een monkey finished speaking, the spatial passageway shrunk to less than 2 meters wide. Just when everyone shook their heads and sighed, thinking that Chu Hen and Luo Mengxiang had missed another good opportunity, a swoosh. Sound of a sudden shock wave could be heard, and 2 young figures, one male and one female, suddenly flashed out of the narrow space gap. Hua! The peerless elegance caused everyone's heart to skip a beat. The old Een monkey's tightly knitted brows immediately relaxed, and his eyes lifted, immediately turning from worry to joy. F***CK. The eyes of Palace Master Mu Fei and the 2 old men in white and black robes trembled slightly. Even the nearby Heavenly Mystery Palace disciples felt their hearts clench. Almost at the same time, space violently trembled and the forcefully torn spatial passageway tightly merged together, leaving not a single gap. That works too. Not far away, the old Een monkey was astonished. He opened his mouth and shouted, "Are you trying to scare me? You're still trying to escape with your life?" Looking at the old Een monkey who still had some lingering fear on his face, Chu Hen had an apologetic look on his face. "I'm sorry, Senior. All right. It's good enough that you're able to come out alive. I've also been worried about the 2 of you. It's good that you're alive. It's good that you're alive." It was obvious that the old Een monkey was relieved. Along with the nebulous storm that gathered in the sky gradually dissipated, Chu Hen, Luo Mengxiang, and the old Een monkey landed on the ground below one after another. Palace Master Mu Fei. Seniors. Chu Hen cupped his fists and bowed to Mu Fei and the 2 old men respectively. Looking at the powerful aura and sublime temperament that emanated from Chu Hen and Luo Mengxiang, the 3 of them had a little surprise on their faces. Not only did the 2 of them not encounter a calamity in the misty heaven, but their cultivation base had also increased greatly during this period of time. It was really surprising. "It seems like the 2 of you have profited from this misfortune," Mu Fei said softly. Chu Hen and Luo Mengxiang looked at each other and could not help but smile at each other. "Chu Hen boy, have you found your parents?" the old Een monkey asked casually. Although he already had an answer in his heart, he still wanted to confirm it. Chu Hen shook his head. The desolation in his eyes was fleeting. Then, he replied with an open mind, "Although I didn't see the 2 of them, I firmly believe that we'll meet again in the future. Let go of your obsession and have hope in your heart." This was the realization that Chu Hen obtained after going through this life and death experience and defeating the demons in his heart. As he spoke, Chu Hen gently held Luo Mengxiang's lily-white hand. While he had hope, it was more important to cherish the people in front of him. "It's good that you're able to accept it." The old Een monkey nodded approvingly. "The misty heaven collapsed so badly this time, but the 2 of you are lucky to be able to come out alive. How long have we been in there?" Chu Hen asked casually. "A long time, more than 2 months. Moreover, you should be rushing back," the old Een monkey replied. "Oh," Chu Hen was stunned. "Rushing back? Not going back. Why?" However, when Palace Master Mu Fei saw Chu Hen's puzzled expression, she said meaningfully, "The Sacred Clan Conference is about to begin. You should go back and prepare." "Sacred Clan Conference?" Chu Hen was taken aback. Luo Mengxiang was also puzzled. "What Sacred Clan Conference?" Mu Fei only nodded slightly in response to Chu Hen's ignorance and did not explain further. "I believe that your clansmen will tell you in detail about the Sacred Clan Conference. This conference is very important to the 10 strongest sacred clans, especially to your demon pupil sacred clan. Therefore, it's not convenient for me to keep you here, especially to the demon pupil sacred clan." Mu Fei's tone was clearly solemn and cautious. From their gazes, Chu Hen could clearly sense that something was amiss. "All right, I understand," Chu Hen once again cupped his fists and bowed to the few of them. This junior will definitely remember the Oracle Palace's kindness this time. If there's anything you need my help with in the future, feel free to speak up, Palace Master. All right. Don't be so courteous with them. The old Een monkey waved his hand and gently pushed Chu Hen's shoulder. Chu Hen boy, on the day of the Sacred Clan Conference's finals, Big Brother will personally cheer for you. Don't disappoint me. There's a finals? Chu Hen's handsome brows raised slightly as he slightly understood the meaning of the Sacred Clan Conference. Take my token to the Celestial Talisman Region's main city. You can directly leave through the teleportation array. That way, you can quickly return. As the oldie monkey spoke, he raised his hand and threw a token inscribed with the word Oracle into Chu Hen's hand. Thank you very much, Chu Hen said gratefully. Don't mention it. I was in a rush this time, so I didn't have the time to properly entertain you and your wife. The next time I come, I'll properly bring you around the southern land. Ha, definitely. After a simple farewell, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong immediately left the Oracle Palace. Above the mountain gate, Mu Fei, the old Een monkey, and the others watched the two of them gradually disappear into the distance. Every one of them had an indescribable, profound meaning in their eyes. Unbelievable, they actually didn't die. The black-clad old man secretly shook his head. Is it because of Chu Rantian? The white-clad old man also muttered to himself. Chu Rantian, just what kind of divine ability does that man possess? Not only did he spare their lives, but he also greatly increased their cultivation. Could it be that Chu Rantian is really still alive? He shook his head. The Oracle Palace Master, Mu Fei, shook his head slightly. He looked up at the sky in front of him. In the gradually darkening sky, a faint crimson blood moon faintly appeared behind the clouds. Sacred Clan Conference. Will there be another change this time? Several days later, at the border of the southern land, the endless mountain ranges were like giant dragons crawling on the ground. Heaven Ravine Mountain Range, a giant mountain range that traversed between the central and southern continents, was especially spectacular. Deep behind the Heaven Ravine Mountain Range was the lair of the demon region. They had returned to this place 2 months ago, not long after Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong set foot in the southern land. They were intercepted by a mysterious expert. Without a doubt, Chu Hen was still a little angry during that short exchange. Thinking back to the humiliation the other party had suffered that day, a trace of coldness flashed across Chu Hen's eyes. If that person was a member of the 10 strongest sacred clans, then he would definitely be able to see him again in this sacred clan conference. Chu Hen thought to himself, why did you stop? Luo Mengchong looked at Chu Hen, who had stopped in his tracks. Chu Hen looked up and smiled. He raised his hand and pointed at the incomparably majestic Heaven Ravine Mountain Range. Didn't you say that we were going to walk along the Heaven Ravine Mountain Range to the Midland? Chapter 1583. Didn't you say that we're going to walk along the Heaven Ravine Ridge to the mid-continent? Chu Hen asked. Huh? Luo Mengchong was stunned for a moment. Her clear eyes were smiling as she looked at him. Is what you said true? Of course. As he spoke, Chu Hen held Luo Mengchong's little hand and walked straight in the direction of the Heaven Ravine Ridge. Wait. Luo Mengchong hurriedly stopped him. I was just joking that day. If we really walk back, how long will it take? Don't we have to rush back to participate in the Saint Clan Conference? Yes, Chu Hen replied. Then you still plan to walk back? Luo Mengchong was puzzled. Chu Hen turned around to look at her and could not help but laugh. I'm just teasing you. As he spoke, Chu Hen stretched out his hand and gently pinched her beautiful cheek. Then, his eyes revealed a hint of solemnity. However, I do have to make a trip to the Heaven Ravine Ridge. Luo Mengchong raised her willowy eyebrows and her beautiful eyes rippled. She could not help but understand. You're going to the demon region? Yes, Chu Hen affirmed. Why are you going to the demon region? To look for Mu Feng? Luo Mengchong asked curiously. However, Chu Hen shook his head. At the same time, there was a faint trace of solemnity between his brows. I just want to confirm something. On the way back to the eastern region, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong turned back to the demon region halfway. After crossing one vast mountain range after another, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong directly crossed the outer area of the Heaven Ravine Ridge and entered the inner area. The undulating mountain range was like a boundless blue sea. The mountain pillars that pierced the sky were even more imposing. In the depths of the Heaven Ravine Ridge, terrifying roars of fierce beasts constantly resounded. Smoke curled up from chimneys, and the scenery was picturesque. One had to admit that the environment of the Heaven Ravine Ridge was excellent. It was like a paradise on earth. However, under this picturesque scenery, it was also a paradise for demon beasts. Of course, to some demon beasts, it was also like hell. Demonic beasts would also hunt and kill each other. It was the same for humans. It was the survival of the fittest. The weak were destined to live in the cracks, or become food in the stomachs of other large demon beasts. The environment of the Heaven Ravine mountain range is much better than I imagined. Even our 9 Nether Sacred Tribe isn't as beautiful as this place. Luo Mengchong held on a Chu Hen's arm, and the two of them strolled leisurely along the shore of a blue lake. The shore was shaded by willow trees, and on one side was a mountain, while on the other was a valley, fully displaying the beauty of nature. Hua! Just as Luo Mengchong finished her words, the clear and pure surface of the lake abruptly exploded into giant waves that soared into the sky. Along with the vast and majestic waves, a powerful and ferocious aura surged out from the water that blotted the sky. A strong cold wind spread out in all directions, sweeping down head-on. Chu Hen's eyes slightly narrowed, and he subconsciously pulled Luo Mengchong behind him. Upon a closer look, he saw that it was a giant serpent. It had the body of a snake, the head of a crocodile, and a pair of huge wings on its back. Its body was more than 100 feet long, and its vertical pupils were coldly staring at Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong below. Human, do not step into the demon region. The other party actually spoke in a human language, and its deep voice was extremely threatening, as though it came through the mouth of a ventilation tank. However, the serpent beast did not attack. It could be seen that it was still quite fearful of Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong. These two seemingly insignificant humans were in fact not to be trifled with. I have something to do in the demon region. Chu Hen calmly replied. The demon region does not welcome humans. I advise you to leave immediately. Fearful was fearful. However, it was not the same as being friendly. As soon as the serpent beast's voice fell, there was an extremely strong rhythm in the lake below it. Dense water droplets danced on the surface of the lake, and pairs of eyes flashing with a fierce light emerged from the water. At the same time, there was a strange rustling sound coming from the canyon behind them. Chu Hen glanced out of the corner of his eye and saw thousands of black and red insects crawling out of the cracks in the canyon. The densely packed insects were the size of a fist, and each of them was full of sharp pincers. Bone bugs. Chu Hen raised his eyebrows slightly, and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. Are they bone bugs that can self-destruct? Luo Mengchong asked softly. Yes, and the power produced by the explosion is not weak. Chu Hen gave his affirmation. The Heaven Ravine Ridge was indeed a paradise for monsters. The number of monsters living here could be said to be unusually large. In the blink of an eye, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong were already surrounded by tens of thousands of bone bugs. It was a black mass that made one's scalp tingle. Leave immediately, the serpent beast growled. However, there was not the slightest fear on Chu Hen's face. He said, I'm looking for Move Foam. Please lead the way. I don't care who you're looking for. Anyone who dares to trespass into the demon domain will die. For fierce and violent monsters, this was the limit of their patience. Roar. As soon as he finished speaking, a sharp cry resounded through the sky. In an instant, the densely packed, bone-sucking bugs became restless. Their dark eyes emitted a blood-red light, and they pounced towards Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong from all directions. Ha! Chu Hen smiled frivolously. With a thought, a circle of light purple arc-shaped light curtain spread in all directions. The purple light curtain seemed to fade into thin gauze, but in fact, it was impregnable. All the bone bugs were isolated outside, and they could not even get close. Domain. The serpent beast's vertical pupils flashed coldly. As soon as it finished speaking, it opened its mouth and a steady stream of surging blue monster power gathered in front of it. Buzz buzz. Beams of illusory blue, flowing shadows spun and rotated, along with the fierce roar of the flood dragon beast. An extremely ferocious cyclone flowed downwards. Along with the rapidly tearing air waves, an incomparably sharp, illusory blue pillar of water pierced through the sky like a ray of light. Carrying a biting, cold-killing power, it attacked towards Chu Hen's domain. The sharp water column was extremely fast. Its momentum was extremely strong. In an instant, it arrived in front of the two. However, Chu Hen raised his head slightly, and then a strange power rhythm appeared in his eyes. Bang! A heavy, violent explosion sounded, and a circle of light purple light mixed with a strong blue brilliance exploded in the air. The space trembled. Before that sharp blue pillar of water could even touch Chu Hen, it had already exploded into thousands of broken shadows. Heaven Stage, Great Saint King Realm. The serpent beast was shocked. Without waiting for him to react, Chu Hen's deep eyes flashed with a purple light once again. An extremely strong aura of danger immediately enveloped the huge beast. Between the heavens and the earth, suddenly, a purple light beam appeared. Every light beam was like a sharp, giant thorn, a dazzling light that could take away one's life. The whole body swayed with traces of purple flames, and countless purple giant thorns covered the serpent beast from top to bottom, left to right, and from every angle. A thick aura of death rapidly gathered. Chu Hen raised his palm in the air, his 5 fingers slightly bent, and said softly, "Life is also a blade." Zing. A series of terrifying space rhythm shook the void. The serpent beast seemed to have fallen into a whirlpool of death. "Lord Chu Hen, please be lenient." Suddenly, in a moment of imminent peril, a shocked cry came from the other side of the valley. Buzz, a series of explosions rang out in the air, and the thousands of purple spikes that were aimed at the WRM all came to a halt when they were less than half a meter away from its body. Then, more than a dozen figures with ferocious auras hurried over. "I'm sorry, Lord Chu Hen. Please have mercy." The one running at the front was a monster that was 3 to 4 meters tall, wearing armor and holding a broad axe in its hand. Its body was similar to a human's, but it had the head of a wolf. When she saw the newcomer, Luo Mengchong looked at Chu Hen with some doubt. "Lord Chu Hen, we've met before, when the Holy War ended," the other party said. Chu Hen was stunned for a moment, and then his eyelids twitched. "I remember now. You're the dog-headed marshal that follows Mu Feng." "Huh?" The other party laughed a little awkwardly. "To be precise, I'm the wolf warrior commander. Lord Chu Hen can call me Nessie." Chu Hen sniffled a little embarrassedly. "I'm sorry, Commander Nessie. Lord Chu Hen is too polite." He then pointed at the serpent beast in the sky and said, "Lord Chu Hen, the Black Serpent Commander has never seen you before and didn't know you were a friend of Lord Mu Feng. Please forgive me." Chu Hen nodded slightly. "It's all right. I came too abruptly." After saying that, Chu Hen waved his arm, and with a whoosh sound, the countless purple light thorns that intertwined around the black serpent beast flew out like a rain of swords, and then disappeared into the air. The wolf warrior commander nodded secretly, and a look of surprise appeared on his face. "We haven't seen each other for a long time. Lord Chu Hen's cultivation has increased greatly again. It really makes me feel ashamed." Chu Hen smiled politely. The black serpent, which had just escaped death, now did not have the confidence it had before, and curled up its body, not daring to move. "Lord Chu Hen, you're here to see Lord Mu Feng, right?" The wolf warrior commander asked, and then explained, "But you might not be able to see him. Lord Mu Feng has always been in seclusion, but Lord Haozi is still here." "No," Chu Hen denied, and said with a decisive tone, "This time, I'm here to visit the Demon Realm Emperor." Chapter 1584. This time, I am here to visit your monster region's emperor. He was not here to look for Mu Feng and Haozi. He was here to see the monster region's emperor. Chu Hen's answer not only stunned the wolf warrior commander, but even Luo Mengchong, who was next to Chu Hen, was a little surprised. You want to see the monster emperor? The wolf warrior commander wanted to confirm again. Yes, Chu Hen confirmed. I wonder if you can help me inform him. The wolf warrior seemed to be a little embarrassed. One must know that the monster region's emperor had a supreme status and was extremely respected. Ordinary people would find it difficult to even set foot in the monster region, let alone see him. After a slight hesitation, the wolf warrior commander replied, "With my status, I can't personally bring you to see the monster emperor, but I can help you inform him. However, I can't guarantee that the monster emperor will see you." The wolf warrior commander's words were also very pertinent. His status in the monster region was not considered high, so he was indeed not qualified to meet the monster emperor directly. "Then I'll have to trouble you," Chu Hen said. The wolf warrior nodded. "Please follow me." Chu Hen nodded slightly and immediately followed the wolf warrior and several monster clan guards into the depths of the canyon with Luo Mengchong. Deep in the Heaven Ravine Ridge, it was surrounded by mountains with giant peaks that reached the sky. Curling smoke shrouded the sky like a natural barrier, making it difficult for people on the outside to observe the environment inside. Under the leadership of the wolf warrior, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong gradually walked into the depths of the canyon. What came into view was a particularly spectacular ancient stone city. The stone city that spread throughout the canyon was very imposing. Compared to the city buildings in the human territory, it was a little less exquisite and luxurious, but more majestic. Whether it was the stone city or the buildings in the city, they were all very magnificent. Compared to the human territory, the same buildings were at least 5 or 6 times larger, and some were even more than 10 times larger. The unique atmosphere of the monster region also surprised Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong. "Is this the first time the two of you have come to our demon region?" The wolf warrior commander asked politely. "Yes," Chu Hen replied in surprise. "The territory of the demon region is spectacular." "Haha. Actually, we demon beasts yearn for the life of humans, so we imitate the structure of some of our buildings. However, we demon beasts are also very territorial. Those who can own cities and palaces all have very high statuses." Chu Hen nodded slightly, indicating that he was listening. As they went deeper and deeper into the territory of the devil territory, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong then entered a particularly magnificent city. It was indeed a huge city. If the city gate was opened, large demonic beasts that were more than 100 feet tall could easily pass through. Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong, two humans, seemed extremely small. The moment the two of them stepped into the city, they were met with fierce and cold glares from the vast city. "Nethys, you actually brought humans here." A hoarse and fierce voice came from the left. Along with the earth shaking uneasily, a huge claw directly blocked in front of Chu Hen and the others. The huge black shadow covered the sky, and what came into view was a giant crocodile demonic beast that was more than 100 meters tall. Its entire body was covered in thick scales as if it was made of copper, and its mouth was full of fangs like a hacksaw, very sharp. "Lord Crocodile Sovereign, these two are friends of Lord Mu Feng," the wolf warrior commander hurriedly explained. "Oh, friends of that bastard Mu Feng?" "Yes." "Umph." The giant crocodile glanced at Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong with disdain, then moved its giant claw away, turned around, and swaggered away. Chu Hen was stunned. The other party was obviously disdainful, but it did not make things difficult for him. What was going on? "Mu Feng seems to be quite disliked in the monster territory," Luo Mengchong whispered. "Quite disliked." The wolf warrior commander turned around and said, "When he first came to the monster territory, he caused trouble every few days. Once, he even stole Lord Crocodile's crocodile egg. Lord Crocodile chased him for 3 days and 3 nights. In the end, it was Lord Junjianga who came forward to settle the matter." "What?" Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong were speechless. No wonder when the giant crocodile heard the two words "move phone." It was full of disdain and did not want to pay attention to him. It turned out that it wanted to stay away from that plague star. But Lord Mufone is so disliked by others. But Lord Housey is especially popular, especially the demonic beasts of the Weasel clan. They are especially close to him. Even the princess of the Purple Gold Sky Weasel clan likes Lord Housey very much. Oh, Chu Hen's eyes lit up. Purple Gold Sky Weasel. Yes, the Sky Weasel clan is one of the 7 major monster clans in our monster territory. Chu Hen had heard a little about the 7 major monster clans. The leaders of the 7 monster clans were second only to the monster territory's emperor. Among the 7 monster clans, the Nine-Tailed Fox clan was ranked first. However, after the upheaval of the Nine-Tailed Fox clan, they were no longer as glorious as they used to be. Even so, the Nine-Tailed Fox monarch Jianga had an extremely high status in the monster territory. There was also Mo Qingli's clan, the Saint-Winged Heavenly Flame Sparrow clan, which was also one of the 7 major monster clans. However, the Heavenly Flame Sparrow clan had left the monster territory a long time ago. Therefore, the current monster territory was generally managed and controlled by the other 5 monster clans and the Monster Clan Great Emperor. I wonder if Lord Junjianga is in the monster territory? Chu Hen asked casually. No. The leader of the Wolf Warriors answered with certainty. Lord Junjianga is rarely in the monster territory. Even if he is, he won't stay for long. Chu Hen nodded. He also knew that Junjianga was carrying a very important mission. Therefore, he was not surprised at all. Just like how monster beasts entered the territory of humans, humans who walked into the territory of monster beasts were like aliens, especially those pairs of unfriendly eyes, which made people feel somewhat uncomfortable. Of course, this was normal. Chu Hen did not take it to heart. About an hour later, in front of a majestic hall, there was a wide flight of steps, each of which was as high as a person's knee. The huge palace, supported by the huge pillars, was like an ancient god. Every brick and tile displayed an unparalleled and extraordinary domineering aura. Nethasai, why did you bring 2 humans to the Monster Emperor's palace? At this moment, the 2 figures guarding outside the main hall cast a cold and vigilant gaze at him. The 2 guards were like the legendary demon dragons. Their claws touched the ground, but they stood upright like humans. They wore armor and held long spears in their hands. Their terrifying heads revealed a strong, domineering aura. Zwalong, the 2 lords on the right, are friends of Lord Mufone. They are here to visit the Monster Emperor. The Wolf Warrior Guard hurriedly explained. Since they are friends of Mufone, they should be looking for Mufone. Why are they here? The 2 guards did not seem to give him any face. Seeing this, Chu Hen took a step forward and said, I have something to ask of the Monster Emperor. Humph. The Monster Emperor is not someone anyone can see. Moreover, you are a human, the Demon Dragon Guard on the left said coldly. Please inform the Monster Emperor that Chu Hen of the Demon Eye clan has something important to discuss with him. Chu Hen said in a low voice. Demon Eye clan? The 2 guards looked at each other and were slightly surprised. But soon, one of them rejected. No matter which clan you are from, the Monster Emperor will not see you, and there is no need for him to see you. What if I insist on seeing him? Chu Hen clenched his fists, a cold glint surging in his eyes. How dare you? The guards on the left and right shouted in unison. Lord Chu Hen, you must not. The Wolf Warrior commander hurriedly stopped them. This was the monster realm. If Chu Hen caused a ruckus, they would be the ones to suffer, and they might even be dragged into it. Why don't you wait for Lord Mufone to come out of seclusion? He can bring you to see the Monster Emperor. How much longer before Mufone comes out? Chu Hen asked. I am not sure. Why aren't you leaving? Before they could say anything else, the 2 Demon Dragon Guards started to ask them to leave, and their tone was especially hostile. Chu Hen's face darkened, and there was a cold glint in his eyes. Oomph. If you don't leave, don't blame us for being impolite. One of the Demon Dragon Guards shouted coldly. Chu Hen sneered. No matter what, I will definitely see him in the future. After all, this was the Monster Realm's lair. Chu Hen also knew that he could not act recklessly, not to mention that Luo Mengchong was still by his side. If a conflict really broke out, he would definitely be at a disadvantage. Tell the Monster Emperor that Chu Hen did not see him today, but he will definitely visit again in the future. With that, Chu Hen grabbed Luo Mengchong's wrist and turned to leave. At this moment, the two demon dragon guards at the entrance of the hall suddenly froze. "Hold on," one of the guards shouted. "Is there anything else?" Chu Hen said indifferently. "The Monster Emperor wants you to enter." Chapter 1585. The Demon Emperor asked you to enter. The sudden change of words from the two demon dragon guards caused everyone present to be stunned. Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong looked at each other and couldn't help but feel a little puzzled. The two demonic dragon guards each took a step back and slightly raised their hands, making a gesture of please. The change was so big that it was somewhat unexpected. On second thought, with the identity and status of the Demon Emperor, there was no need for him to use any tricks on the two juniors of the human race. Without further guessing, Chu Hen held Luo Mengchong's hand, and the two directly stepped onto the tall steps in front of them, walking straight towards the gate of the giant hall that looked like an ancient god. It was cold and quiet, and the space inside was very vast. Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong felt as if they had stepped into a palace where giants lived. Their figures were so small that they were not even as big as the steps at the door. An invisible, majestic aura filled the huge palace. The two shadows lengthened and shortened at the door. The dark stone floor tiles were quite flat and had a unique texture when they stepped on them. At the top of the hall, a burly figure sat on a stone throne that was as spacious as a bed. The figure was more than 2 meters tall and was dressed in a dark golden dragon robe. An expensive marten coat was draped over his shoulders, and his silver hair was tied up with a purple gold crown. He looked like a high and mighty emperor. He leaned sideways on the armrest of the throne and supported his chin with his arms. His eyes were slightly closed, as if he was resting. Although the figure had a human appearance, the unconcealable and powerful demonic aura on his body made one's heart palpitate. Chu Hen gently let go of Luo Mengchong's hand and walked steadily to the front of the throne room. "I am Chu Hen. I pay my respects to Demon Emperor Qi Kong." As he spoke, he cupped his fists and said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, "Qi Kong." This was the name of the Demon Emperor in front of him. It was also told to Chu Hen by the wolf warrior Commander Nessies on the way here. As soon as he finished speaking, the figure in the throne room suddenly opened his eyes. A pair of blue and white eyes revealed two sharp and peerless rays of light. Buzz, a formless and majestic aura whizzed downwards. Chu Hen's body trembled involuntarily, and he felt as if he had sunk into the depths of a quagmire. Screech, accompanied by a sharp howl, Chu Hen's eyes quietly glowed with a purple light, exuding a demonic aura. Following that, Chu Hen's pupils shrank slightly. He saw an extremely domineering and ethereal shadow floating behind the other party. Even under the observation of the demon eye, the illusory figure could not be seen clearly. It vaguely resembled the body of a demon dragon with wings on its back. Was it the other party's main body? Chu Hen was secretly shocked. "Did you just say your surname is Chu?" At this moment, the invisible pressure that enveloped Chu Hen loosened, and Demon Tharch Qi Kong stared fixedly at the audience hall. There was not the slightest hint of emotion in the voice, and there was a kind of calm majesty. Soon after, the purple light in Chu Hen's eyes also receded. "Yes, my surname is Chu. Surname Chu." But he also had a pair of demon eyes. Demon Tharch Qi Kong looked at the two of them indifferently and said, "Why are you looking for me?" Chu Hen paused slightly and turned back to look at Luo Mengchong. A complicated look flashed in his eyes, and then he turned back to look at Demon Tharch Qi Kong. "I would like to ask Demon Tharch a few questions, and I hope that you can answer truthfully. Speak." Demon Tharch Qi Kong replied indifferently. "May I ask, what is the relationship between Demon Tharch and White Emperor?" "White Emperor. He was the God-Eye Emperor, the ruler of White Emperor City in the Cloud World, and also one of the 10 great saint race emperors whose name shook the world. When she heard Chu Hen's question, Luo Mingshang, who was behind him, could not help but clench her jade-like hands, and a slight ripple appeared in her clear eyes. Best friends, Demon the Arch Chi Kong replied briefly. Then, may I ask, Demon the Arch, when Demon Eye Emperor and White Emperor agreed to fight at the Sky Palace for the Battle of Heavenly King Mountain, did your demon region send out a large force? Chu Hen asked solemnly. Yes. Where did they go? Chu Hen stared at his jade-blue eyes, which were filled with the majesty of an emperor. Chaos race. Demon, the Arch-Chi, Yin said. His calm voice did not have any intention of avoiding the question. In his eyes, there was no need for him to avoid Chu Hen. The reason was simple. He was Demon the Arch-Chi Kong, the supreme ruler of the demon region. When he heard the words chaos race, Chu Hen's expression changed. His eyes could not help but turn slightly red. You and White Emperor really worked together to wipe out the chaos race. Every word was heavy and filled with hatred. Chu Hen clenched his fists so hard that cracking sounds could be heard. Luo Mingshang hurriedly went forward to hold Chu Hen's arm, trying to calm his emotions. However, Demon the Arch-Chi Kang's reply stunned Chu Hen once again. No. Chu Hen frowned. What do you mean? It was not me who wiped out the chaos race. Demon the Arch-Chi Kong said, when I arrived at the chaos race, the tragedy had already happened, and I only saw corpses all over the ground. And what? Chu Hen's eyes darkened. Demon the Arch-Chi Kang's eyes turned cold as he looked at Chu Hen solemnly. I'm not sure. The person who sent the message to me and asked me to lead everyone to the chaos race was from White Emperor. Why? I don't know, I'm just not sure. Demon the Arch-Chi Kong gave a vague answer. But you can't be sure that the message was not sent by White Emperor. You can't deny that the one who wiped out the chaos race and severely injured the demon eye race was the divine eye race, Chu Hen said coldly. You can understand it that way. Demon the Arch-Chi Kong did not deny it. After all, everyone thinks that White Emperor led people to wipe out the chaos race and the demon eye race. Don't you think so? Chu Hen clenched his teeth. I think so too, but I feel that there are some suspicious points. What suspicious points? Chi Kong did not answer immediately. Instead, he stared at Chu Hen with a meaningful look. You seem to be unwilling to accept this fact? Can you tell me why? Everyone knew that the Divine Eye race and the Demon Eye race had been mortal enemies since ancient times. Neither race was willing to submit to the other, and there were endless grudges between them. Back then, the Divine Eye race definitely did not wish to see the Chaos race and the Demon Eye race united by marriage. The Primal Chaos clan had been exterminated, the Demon Pupil Saint clan had suffered heavy losses and almost perished, and the Godly Eye Saint clan was the biggest suspect. Yet, Chu Hen had found his way here and even publicly sought out the Demon Emperor to verify this matter. It seemed to be an unnecessary move, especially when Demon the Arch-Chi Kong seemed to have seen through Chu Hen's inner thoughts. He seemed to be unwilling to accept the Divine Eye race's actions back then. Demon the Arch-Chi Yin saw a hint of luck in Chu Hen's eyes. There was still a glimmer of hope in his heart. Faced with Demon the Arch-Chi Kang's question, Chu Hen's eyes were indescribably complicated. He looked at Luo Mengchang apologetically. Luo Mengchang naturally knew what Chu Hen was thinking. She smiled faintly. Her eyes were as clear as water, and she was devastatingly beautiful. As if she was encouraging Chu Hen, she nodded slightly, indicating that she was not angry and did not blame him. Chu Hen's expression relaxed slightly, and he pursed his lips slightly. Then, he faced Demon the Arch-Chi Kong. There is a very important person standing on the Divine Eye race's side. Oh. Demon the Arch-Chi Kong raised his white eyebrows, and a hint of surprise flashed in his blue and white eyes. I see. So, what is the suspicious point that you mentioned? Chu Hen asked. Demon the Arch-Chi Kong stood up with his arms behind his back. His tall and burly figure had an innate aura of a king. The biggest suspicious point is that White the Arch is also dead. Chu Hen's eyes narrowed. This is a suspicious point? Isn't Emperor Demon Eye's strength on par with White Thearcha's? That's right. although their strength is on par. And Emperor Demon I also has the ability to kill White Arch. But based on my understanding of White Arch, if he really wanted to annihilate the Demon Eye race, he would definitely not make any mistakes. In terms of cultivation strength, Emperor Demon I may not be weaker than White Arch, but in terms of talent, strategy, and intelligence, he is far from White Arch. This was Demon the Arch Chi Kang's evaluation of White Arch. Talent and strategy. In fact, White Arch had a good relationship with the other great emperors. Even Demon the Arch Chi Kang, who disdained to associate with humans, could become close friends with White Arch. This was enough to show that White Arch had other super strong support in addition to his own strength. White Arch has the ability to annihilate two races at the same time, and he will not sacrifice himself. Demon the Arch Chi Kang said, and then a hint of pity flashed in his eyes. However, the final news I received was that he and Emperor Demon I both died in Firmament Palace. Chu Hen could not help but think about the suspicious point that Demon the Arch Chi Kang mentioned. As a great emperor of the monster region, there seemed to be no reason for him to deceive himself. Or was he lying? Was he trying to shirk his responsibility? Soon, Chu Hen secretly denied it. With Demon the Arch Chi Kang's cultivation and ability, why would he take him seriously, let alone fabricate such a lie to fool them? Why don't you look for Abysmal Emperor? At this moment, Demon Emperor Chi Kang suddenly said a sentence, which once again made Chu Hen's heart in the hall shrink abruptly. Luo Mengchong, who was beside him, also had a change of expression. Both of them looked at each other's proud and calm majestic face in astonishment. Chapter 1586. Why don't you look for Abysmal Emperor? Just as Chu Hen was deep in thought, Demon Emperor Chi Kang's sudden words caused Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong's hearts to tremble. Then, Demon Emperor Chi Kang's calm and dignified gaze shifted to Luo Mengchong. As far as I know, Abysmal Emperor Clan and Holy-Eyed Saint Clan have an extraordinary relationship. Clang. As soon as he said that, Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong's expressions changed again and again. Both of their hearts seemed to be struck by a sudden clap of thunder, especially Chu Hen, whose hands were trembling uncontrollably. Back then, when the Chaos Clan was exterminated and the Demon I Saint Clan suffered a great calamity, could Abysmal Emperor Clan also be implicated? In an instant, Chu Hen felt an inexplicable sense of suffocation. Luo Mengchong, who was beside him, also had a complicated expression. Apart from that, Demon Emperor Chi Kang raised his white eyebrows and continued, Abysmal Emperor and Demon I Saint Emperor's younger sister, who is also your mother, Li Jixia, are like sisters. Wow. Upon hearing this, Chu Hen's clenched fists loosened. He lifted his eyes and stared at Demon Emperor Chi Kang's domineering and demonic blue and white eyes in astonishment. From the beginning to the end, Chu Hen had never clearly revealed his identity. He had never said who his parents were. However, Demon Emperor Chi Kang still saw through him with a single glance. However, what really shocked Chu Hen was the last sentence of Demon Emperor Chi Kang. Abysmal Emperor and Li Jixia were like sisters. Chu Hen looked at Luo Mengchong, then back at Demon Emperor Chi Kang. There was an indescribable restlessness in his emotions. The Ninth Nether Emperor had a good relationship with the Demon I Saint Clan and was also related to the godly I Saint Clan. Which faction did he belong to? Looking at the complicated expressions on Chu Hen and Luo Mengchong's faces, Demon Emperor Chi Kang continued. The Ninth Nether Great Emperor is the only one who interfered between the Divine Eye and Demon Pupil clans. I believe that the Ninth Nether Great Emperor knows everything that happened back then better than anyone else. Instead of coming all the way to find me, why don't you go find her? But my mother is still in a deep sleep. Luo Mengchong replied subconsciously. Oh, you're the daughter of the Ninth Abyss Great Emperor. Demon Monarch Chi Kang was surprised. Luo Mengchong nodded affirmatively. Then let's wait for her to wake up. Chi Kang Demon Monarch replied calmly. Chu Hen's agitated emotions gradually calmed down, and he let out a deep breath. Thank you, demon god, for telling me this. Your thank you is too early, Chi Kong replied with a hint of indifference in his eyes. Chu Hen's eyes narrowed slightly. He naturally understood the meaning behind Demon Emperor Chi Kang's words. Back then, the demon region had mobilized in an attempt to head towards the Chaos Clan. If that news was really sent by Emperor Bai, it would mean that the demon region was also an accomplice of the divine I Saint clan. Although the war had already ended when Demon Emperor Chi Kong arrived at the Chaos Clan, the original intention of the demon region was still to cooperate with Emperor Bai to exterminate Chu Rantian and his clansmen. Chu Hen nodded slightly, paused, and said, "Let's not talk about gratitude or enmity for now. Demon God, I'm grateful that you're willing to meet me today. Neither servile nor overbearing, neither warm nor angry." In just a few seconds, Chu Hen had calmed down, and the agitation and uneasiness in his heart had subsided. Demon Emperor Chi Kong looked at the other party's young face meaningfully. "You look very much like someone, of course, because I'm his son." Chu Hen naturally knew who he was talking about. His father, Chu Rantian. Demon Emperor Chi Kong smiled indifferently, and then waved his hand. "Let's go. It's a form of danger for you to stay here any longer." Danger? Demon Emperor Chi Kong did not hide his inner thoughts. He and Emperor Bai were bosom buddies. In addition, the demon region had sent out the Chaos Clan back then. To Chu Hen, Demon Emperor Chi Kong was definitely not a friend. And Demon Emperor Chi Kong could also clearly sense the threat that was about to grow from Chu Hen. He was a huge hidden danger, just like how the various clans were worried about Chu Rantian back then. In time, once Chu Hen grew up, he would definitely be a threat to the demon region. Therefore, the best way was to kill the hidden danger in the cradle. Chu Hen understood the other party's meaning very well. He immediately cupped his fists. "The two of us will take our leave now." With that, Chu Hen held Luo Mengshang's little hand, and the two immediately turned around and left the hall without looking back. Looking at the two disappearing figures at the entrance of the hall, Demon Emperor Chi Kang's eyes were slightly cold, and there was an indescribable meaning in his eyes. Divine I Saint Clan, Demon I Saint Clan, Abysmal Saint Clan. It was like another cycle, and the problem that the previous generation could not solve was extended to the next generation. Coincidence? Or fate? "You are very much like a person," Demon Emperor Chi Kong murmured to himself softly, but he was repeating the words just now. At the same time, the peerless figure of a person who ruled over the ages, grasped the heavenly Tao with his own strength, controlled the 10 clans, and used the Supreme Emperor's might to send the evil god into the abyss of chaos. That person, everyone called him Celestial Emperor. Walking out of the magnificent giant palace behind him, Chu Hen stood at the top of the wide steps, raised his head, and felt the warm light slowly sprinkling into his eyes. Beside him, Luo Mengshang bit her red lips lightly, but her heart was a little heavy. "What's wrong?" Chu Hen gently pulled Luo Mengshang into the crook of his arm, his eyes full of tenderness. Luo Mengshang lifted her beautiful eyes slightly and said in a low voice, "If that matter is related to my mother, what should I do?" Chu Hen smiled. "It won't happen." Didn't Demon Emperor Chi Kong say that Abysmal Emperor and my mother are like sisters? Abysmal Emperor and my mother are like sisters. Abysmal Saint Clan will definitely not harm Demon I Saint Clan. But he also said that Abysmal Saint Clan and Divine I Saint Clan are also related. Luo Mengshang's willowy eyebrows were filled with faint sadness. When she heard what Demon Emperor Chi Kong said previously, Luo Mengshang only felt a chill down her back. She didn't dare to imagine how she would face Chu Hen in the future if Abysmal Saint Clan was related to that matter. Then listen carefully. Chu Hen held Luo Mengshang's shoulder, making her look at him. "Whether that matter is related to Abysmal Saint Clan or not, you Luo Mengshang will always be the most important person to me, Chu Hen. What those people do has nothing to do with you at all. I will not let you go, and I will not let you suffer even a little bit." Every word was filled with deep emotions, and every sentence was heavy. Luo Mengshang's eyes were slightly red, and her clear eyes were slightly warm. Then she nodded gently. Chu Hen's eyes were filled with tenderness, and then he pulled her into his arms, kissing her delicate eyebrows and the corner of her eyes. Every time he thought of the scene that happened in Demon Eye Saint Clan that day, Chu Hen felt as if his heart was being stabbed by a knife. When he thought of that pair of beautiful peach blossom eyes that were filled with tears and grievances, Chu Hen blamed himself, felt helpless, and was in pain. He had let Bai Qinyu down. He definitely couldn't lose Luo Mengshang again. Are you afraid that I will be like her? Luo Mengshang pressed her cheek against Chu Hen's chest and said softly. Chu Hen didn't answer, but just sighed and shook his head. Luo Mengshang was a very smart woman. When Chu Hen said that he wanted to come to the demon region to look for Demon Emperor Qi Kong, she had actually already guessed Chu Hen's intention. He wanted to get confirmation from the Demon Emperor. Even if there was only a glimmer of hope, he could convince himself to find a reason to believe in Bai Qinyu. Luo Mengshang subconsciously hugged Chu Hen a little tighter, and her hands wrapped around his back. You just said that the mistakes of the previous generation have nothing to do with our generation, so why can't you forgive her? Chu Hen was silent. After a while, he replied dryly, It's not that I don't forgive her, but I can't forgive myself. She should hate me now, and I don't know how to face her. Your subordinate kowtows to your highness. At this moment, a few noises came from the bottom of the stairs in front of them. I heard that Chu Hen is here. Haozi's familiar voice followed. Yes, Lord Chu Hen has gone to see the Demon Emperor. It's Haozi? At the entrance of the palace, the eyes of those who heard the voice lit up. Luo Mengshang's beautiful eyes also lit up slightly. She was also very familiar with Haozi. Then, Chu Hen and Luo Mengshang walked down the stairs, and at the same time, the group of people below also hurriedly looked in their direction. Chu Hen, is it really you? When did you come? Haozi's peanut-sized eyes were full of excitement. Beside Haozi, there was another young girl in gorgeous clothes. The girl was not particularly beautiful, but her skin was very fair, and her facial features were small and cute. She also had a pair of small eyes, which were slightly bigger than Haozi's. I just arrived not long ago, Chu Hen replied. The few of them walked closer to each other, and then Haozi's eyes directly widened. Oh my God, Miss Mengshang, how can it be you? Hello, senior brother Zhouhao, long time no see. Luo Mengshang smiled faintly. The three of them were all from the Sacred Star Empire, and they had already known each other when they were in the Imperial Capital Martial House. Wow, unbelievable. I really haven't seen you for a long time. Haozi was very excited. Little sister's eyes are so beautiful. I'm so jealous. The young girl in gorgeous clothes at the side stared at Luo Mengshang, and her words were full of envy. Chu Hen and Luo Mengshang were stunned. I forgot to introduce myself. Haozi quickly reacted. This is Chi, a friend I met in the demon territory. Chu Hen smiled and said, On the way here, Commander Nessus already told us that Chi is still the princess of the Purple Gold Heavenly Skunk Clan, right? You already know? Haozi was a little embarrassed. Actually, we're just ordinary friends. We're not ordinary friends. You promised me that when I grow up, you'll be with me. As she spoke, Chi even grabbed Haozi's arm with a mischievous look. I did say that, but my status is not worthy of you. If it wasn't for Mu Feng, I would have been chased out of the demon territory. Haozi replied softly. Who dares to chase you away? I'll smash his head. Who does Mu Feng think he is? I hate Mu Feng the most. He even stole my 100 spirit fruit last time. He's an annoying bastard. You're so much better than him. It was obvious that Chi had completely attached herself to Haozi. However, there were not many humans in the demon territory to begin with. When Mu Feng and Haozi first arrived, they naturally attracted the curiosity of many demonic beasts. As soon as they got to know each other, Mu Feng and Haozi's personalities were absolutely different. A little princess like Chi, who was a little willful and unruly, liked to bully Haozi, who was honest. Seeing how the two of them were getting along, Chu Hen and Luo Mengshang looked at each other and smiled. Very cute, Luo Mengshang smiled. Yeah, Chu Hen also smiled and nodded. Chu Hen, since the two of you are here, Why don't you stay for a few more days before leaving? Houzi suggested. No, we're preparing to leave now, Chu Hen replied with a little determination. At the same time, he looked at the horizon in front of him. In the sky above the demon territory, ferocious and domineering birds spread their wings and circled the sky. Chu Hen's pupils reflected the expanding azure sky. The Sacred Clan Conference was about to begin. Chapter 1587. Night. The sky was so dark that it seemed to be covered by a huge curtain. There were no stars or crescent moons. The oppressive aura that filled the air was like a formless pressure that made it hard for people to breathe. Clang! Suddenly, at this moment, a deafening clap of thunder lit up the dark night sky like a giant blade that could split heaven and earth. Immediately after, a sharp and piercingly cold hurricane rose, and a monstrous chaotic airflow that overturned the nine heavens was like a thunderstorm, shrouding and circling the void. Rumble! It was as if heaven and earth had been turned upside down. Along with a series of thunderous booms, countless terrifying bolts of lightning tore through the void like the sharp claws of a giant dragon. For example, the heavenly punishment, the divine tribulation descended. Bolts of divine lightning that emitted an endless destructive aura fell from the sky. The most shocking thing was that in the sky where the space was about to collapse, a domineering and burly figure could be vaguely seen facing the terrifying impact of the destructive lightning. The lightning tribulation came one after another. The terrifying destructive power increased with each wave. In the end, there was even a series of red lightning and black divine lightning. The terrifying power shook the nine heavens, as if the world was about to collapse. It was as if doomsday had arrived. Several days later, breaking news. Breaking news. A great emperor tribulation has appeared in the sky above the Thunder Saint clan. What? Could it be? It can't be wrong. The Thunder Saint clan's clan leader has stepped into the great emperor realm. Boom! The earth-shattering news swept through the various continents and territories like a landslide and tsunami. All the major sects, forces, sects, and families, even the whole world was shocked. They paid attention to all the news that came from the Thunder Saint clan. Oh my God, there's finally another great emperor in this world. Looks like I'll have to change the way I address him. I'll call him Thunder Clan Leader instead of Thunder Emperor. Thunder Emperor is not bad. The Thunder Saint clan is finally going to rise. Once they have a great emperor, they'll definitely be comparable to the 10 strongest sacred clans. The shocking news that swept across the continents was getting more and more intense, especially the fact that the Thunder Saint clan's clan leader had become a great emperor before the Sacred Clan Conference. It made people speculate. 5 elements sacred clan. Patriarch Thunder has become an emperor name. The prodigy on the wind cloud list, Lin Inghe, had yet to step through the door of the hall when his complicated silhouette entered. In the hall, the great elder of the 5 elements sacred clan stood not far away from the entrance with his staff in hand. His turbid old eyes were dark and gloomy, and his lips were moving slightly, as if he wanted to say something. Seeing the grand elder's expression, Lin Inghe could not help but shake his head slightly. It seemed that the grand elder had already received the news. After a while, the old man sighed softly. The Thunder Saint clan is still one step ahead of us. This clan is going to rise. Lin Inghe frowned slightly, hesitated for a moment, and then asked, "How long until Master becomes a great emperor?" The old man shook his head. "I don't know. Maybe 10 years, maybe 100 years, or maybe I'll never be able to enter that realm." "How could that be?" Lin Inghe clenched his fists. Master has been at the pinnacle of the Emperor realm for a long time, but he hasn't sensed any opportunity to summon the Great Emperor Tribulation. If one wanted to take this step, it would be extremely difficult. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been so long since someone became an emperor in this world. Emperor realm, Great Emperor. Although there was only a difference between the 2 words, the difference between them was like heaven and earth. Since ancient times, there were still a few sacred clans who had the ability to enter the Emperor realm. However, there were only a few who could surpass the Emperor realm and achieve the title of Great Emperor. Take the 10 strongest Saint clans as an example. It was because of the 10 peerless great emperors that they were able to sit on the throne of the strongest Saint clans. Apart from the 10 strongest great emperors, there were also a few passerby great emperors who did not pursue fame or power. For example, the Ice Emperor, Great Emperor Fortune, and so on. These were all almighties who were once peerless powerhouses who were given the title of Great Emperor. However, since time immemorial, mountains were never constant, and water was never constant. Ever since the war against the demon race in the God-forbidden blood prison 10,000 years ago, many of the human race's great emperors had fallen. In addition, the war between the divine Aes Saint clan and the demon Aes Saint clan had caused them to lose the demon Aes monarch and the white emperor, two of the human race's great emperors. Apart from that, there were only the other 8 great emperors in the world that people were familiar with. However, with the Thunder Clan's patriarch achieving the title of Great Emperor, the sacred clan's balance that had been maintained for 10,000 years was bound to be disrupted. The battles of the world, they never stopped, especially at this critical juncture where the sacred race assembly was about to begin. It made everyone even more sensitive. The demonic realm, the purple imperial city. The demon Aes Saint clan was no longer as prosperous as it used to be. Recently, the atmosphere in the purple imperial city had become even more desolate. The 4th elder, the most senior elder in the demon Aes Saint clan, stood quietly on the majestic city tower. His old and stooped figure looked even thinner and weaker. His cloudy eyes were filled with indescribable heaviness and helplessness. The Sacred Clan Conference was already one disaster after another for the demon Aes Saint clan. They never expected that something like this would happen just as the conference was about to begin. The Thunder Emperor's appearance was like an invisible sharp knife that pierced deeply into the demon Aes Saint clan's throat. The demon Aes Saint clan, who was already struggling at death's door, was already standing on the edge of the cliff, where the wind and the waves were the fiercest. Really? Does the heavens want the demon Aes Saint clan to die? The 4th elder closed his old eyes. His skinny hands were like dried twigs, shriveled and devoid of vitality. Not far behind the 4th elder, heavenly lonely star guard Li Wuxiang quietly looked at the 4th elder's lonely figure, his heart filled with mixed feelings. All these years, all the burdens had been on the lonely old man's shoulders. Under the 4th elder's full efforts, the demon Aes Saint clan managed to survive in the cracks. But the heavens did not seem to be kind to the poor old man because of this. The cruelest blow to the demon Aes Saint clan was also coming. If the Sacred Clan Conference was already enough to make the demon Aes Saint clan breathless, then the rise of the Thunder Saint clan would eventually be the last straw that crushed the demon Aes Saint clan. The wind was blowing, and the 9 regions were restless. The Sacred Clan Conference was getting closer and closer. The atmosphere in the various continents was unusually restless. What do you guys think will happen after the Thunder Saint clan leader becomes an emperor? Needless to say, the position of the 10 strongest sacred clans will probably be handed over. The emergence of the Thunder Saint Emperor will definitely change the situation of the sacred clan. In my opinion, the 3 strongest sacred clans will be affected: the divine Aes Saint clan, the abysmal Saint clan, and the demon Aes Saint clan. As for the other 7 sacred clans, they won't be affected at all. Although Emperor Bai of the divine Aes Saint clan has fallen, the overall internal power of the divine Aes Saint clan has not declined at all. With this alone, they can continue to hold the position of the strongest sacred clan. Moreover, Emperor Bai was on good terms with the great emperors of the Star Saint clan, the Great Wilderness Saint clan, and the Sky Burning Saint clan. Their relationship has been maintained over the years, and the current Thunder Saint clan is still unable to shake the position of the divine Aes Saint clan. That makes sense. As for the Abysmal Saint clan, there's no need to talk about it. Rumor has it that the Abysmal Emperor is only in a deep sleep and could wake up at any time. The Thunder Saint clan won't be much of a threat to him. So, there's only the demon Aes Saint clan left. Chapter 1588. The twin storms of the upcoming Sacred Race Conference and the Thunder Sacred Tribe leader's ascension to Emperor overturned many domains and continents like a tsunami. He had become a great emperor, whether it was for the Thunder Sacred Tribe itself or for the entire human race. This was a major event that would go down in the annals of history. This meant that the human race had gained yet another world-shaking expert. From a perspective of the monster region, godly forbidden blood prison, and other alien races that posed a threat to the human race, this was a blessing for the human race. But from the perspective of the human race, it was the prelude to a huge storm. Victorious East Prefecture, Kuan City. It was almost evening. Third brother, you're back. You've been gone for a long time. Long Qingyang's eyes lit up when he saw Chu Hin and Luo Mengshang return. How'd it go? Have you found your parents? Su Yurong, who was with Long Qingyang, asked out of concern. Chu Hin and Luo Mengshang exchanged a look. The former smiled. I guess I did. Really? That's great. Su Yurong's eyes lit up. Long Qingyang's eyes narrowed in confusion. Guess? Yeah. Chu Hin nodded his head. Although he had yet to meet the two of them, he had obtained the item left behind by Chu Lentian. To Chu Hin, this could be considered as a form of entrustment. Long Qingyang wanted to say something, but he didn't ask. Uncle Jean isn't back yet? Chu Hin asked. Yeah, Yurong and I went back to Flaming Rain City not long ago. The Sacred Star Empire has changed so much that I couldn't even recognize it, Long Qingyang answered. Chu Hin smiled. It has indeed changed. I was shocked when I went back too. And where are my second sister and little Yao? Why aren't they here? They're still in seclusion. I see. Chu Hin nodded, a trace of seriousness in his eyes. The Dragon Blood Sacred Tribe hasn't come looking for us in the past few months, has it? No, Long Qingyang replied. It's probably because the Sacred Race Convention is around the corner, and the Dragon Blood Sacred Clan wouldn't dare to cause any trouble at this time. Long Qingyang also had some understanding of the Sacred Clan Conference. Since the Dragon Blood Sacred Clan's actions were not honorable, their top priority was the upcoming Sacred Race Assembly. As for the Dragon Essence, all he had to do was keep an eye on Long Qingyang and come to retrieve it after the Sacred Race Conference. By the way, Miss Mingshang, Long Qingyang looked at Luo Mingshang and said, the Abysmal Saint Tribe sent someone here last month to summon you back. Summon me back. Luo Mingshang raised her eyebrows slightly. She was not surprised by this. Where are they? After waiting for you for a few days, they went back first and asked me to tell you not to miss the Saint Clan meeting. All right, I understand. Any news from the Demon Eye Saint Clan? Chu Hin asked. Long Qingyang's eyes darkened as he nodded with a complicated expression. Senior Li Wushang is already waiting for you inside. Night fell. Standing on top of Kuan City's main city, one could see the lights of the bustling capital city from afar. The night sky, which was supposed to be filled with stars, had been dark and gloomy for a few months now. The night sky seemed to press down very close, especially the crimson blood moon, which seemed to hang right in front of one's eyes, giving the illusion that one could reach out and grab it. The blood moon had turned from a crescent moon to a full moon. Around it there were 10 bright stars. The crimson moon descended, and the sacred stars guarded it. It was a very strange scene. Someone was looking forward to it. Someone was uneasy. 3 more days. Li Wushang stood quietly on top of the city tower with his hands behind his back, looking at the prosperity of the city with a deep gaze. However, his heart was not in tune with the hustle and bustle. Chu Hin stood beside Li Wushang, and the two of them had become as tall as one another. Even in terms of the invisible aura they exuded, Chu Hin was no longer at a disadvantage. It came so quickly, Li Wushang murmured. Chu Hin pursed his lips, a complicated expression on his face. What was about to happen came very quickly for Chu Hin and the entire Demon Eye Sacred Clan. They didn't even have a chance to breathe, especially when Li Wushang had said that he initially hoped that Chu Hin would reach his level, or even higher, to have the ability to know everything. But there was no time. Neither Chu Hin nor the Demon Eye Sacred Clan had the time. I don't want to admit it, but to be honest, the Demon Eye Sacred Clan no longer has the ability to maintain its position as one of the 10 strongest sacred clans. Li Wushang's seemingly calm tone was mixed with sorrow. To be honest, it might be easier to lose the title of the strongest sacred clan. We don't have to live in torment every day. Are you sure it'll be easier? Chu Hen asked. Li Wuxiang didn't answer. It won't be easier, will it? Chu Hen's eyes gradually deepened. In front of him, Li Wuxiang didn't seem to be a senior anymore, but an equal, a teacher and a friend. If we lose the title of the strongest sacred clan, then the Demon Eye Sacred Clan will really have nothing left. All the glory of this clan will be forgotten by the world. It won't be long before no one remembers those purple eyes anymore. I reckon that old man Fourth Elder will die of depression. Li Wuxiang smiled, but his smile was a bit bitter. Then, Li Wuxiang let out a long sigh and looked up at the crimson sky. But there's no other way. If the Demon Eye Sacred Clan was given more time, they might be able to salvage the situation. But reality was cruel. The double pressure from a Sacred Clan conference and the Lightning Sacred Clan was suffocating the Demon Eye Sacred Clan. After a short while, Chu Hen said in a low voice, "Tell me about the Sacred Clan Conference." Li Wuxiang raised his brows. "You're not going to give up? Why should I give up?" Chu Hen asked. The two of them looked at each other. Li Wuxiang couldn't help but be stunned when he received the strange rhythm hidden in Chu Hen's deep eyes. At this moment, he actually realized that, even with his strength, he was unable to detect Chu Hen's depth. Li Wuxiang nodded. The Sacred Clan Conference is a conference between the Saint Clans. There's only one purpose, and that's to fight for the Heavenly Emperor's token. Heavenly Emperor's token? Hearing those three words, Chu Hen's heart couldn't help but tremble. What's a Heavenly Emperor's token? 10,000 years ago, in the war between the human race and the Devil Domain, after the evil god was cast into the Chaos Abyss, the Celestial Emperor also collapsed. Once the Celestial Emperor disappeared, the balance between the various races was quietly broken. As the saying goes, a country cannot be without a ruler for even a day. In order to return to a peaceful situation, the various clans discussed and decided to convene the Saint Clan Assembly to decide on a new leader of the Saint Clan so that he can manage the peace and prosperity of the human territories. In other words, whoever wins the first place in the Sacred Clan Conference will win the Heavenly Emperor's token. Chu Hen asked. Li Wuxiang shook his head. Winning the first place in the Sacred Clan Conference isn't enough to win the Heavenly Emperor's token, let alone win the respect of all the Saint Clans. How many times would it take? 10 times. What? Chu Hen raised an eyebrow. He was shocked. But thinking about it, this was normal. The bloodlines of the 10 strongest Saint Clans all had their own strengths and weaknesses. Just a single loss was not enough to convince anyone of their superiority. However, it was different after 10 times. This was definitely an extremely difficult and huge goal. Whoever was able to win 10 Sacred Clan conventions would be the embodiment of super strength, and the world would have no choice but to concede. Up till now, how many Sacred Race conventions have we gone through? Chu Hen asked solemnly. Counting from ancient times till now, there have already been 22 Sacred Clan conventions. Li Wuxiang's eyes were filled with some distant thoughts. He paused and continued. In the 22 Sacred Clan conventions, the Holy Eye Sacred Clan won the championship 3 times. The Demon Eye Sacred Clan won twice. The Star Sacred Clan won twice. And the other 6 Sacred Clans won once each, 3 times for 1. 2 times. 6 at a time. That would add up to 13 times. There's another race. Chu Hen clenched his fists with a bewildered expression. That's right. Li Wuxiang nodded in affirmation. There's another race that became the champion of the Sacred Race Conference 9 times. Wah! As soon as he said this, Chu Hen's eyes widened, and a huge wave surged in his heart. That race is? Li Wuxiang's eyes were slightly cold, and his brows were also throbbing. Then he spat out 4 words clearly. Reincarnation Sacred Clan. Today there were 2 nights. Chapter 1589. The Samsara Saint Clan had won the championship 9 times. When he heard Li Wuxiang's words, no matter how calm Chu Hen's heart was, he couldn't help but be shocked. In other words, the Samsara Saint Clan only needed to win the Sacred Race Conference 1 more time to obtain the Heavenly Emperor token and become the new rulers of the Chaos God Clan. Pressure. Immense pressure. Chu Hen slightly clenched his fists, and a serious expression appeared on his face. He originally thought the Lightning Saint clan was the most difficult obstacle, but it seemed that the Samsara Saint clan was the real obstacle. If the Demon Eye clan wanted to maintain their title as one of the 10 strongest sacred clans, there was only one way, and that was to win the Sacred Race Conference. As long as they won the championship, the Demon Eye clan would still be recognized by the world. However, for the Samsara Saint clan, who had won the championship 9 times, they were only one step away from the Heavenly Emperor token. The Samsara Saint clan was definitely going to win the Sacred Race Conference this time. Other than that, there were a few other sacred clans that had won first place in the Sacred Clan Convention before. All of them possessed the strength to win the championship. It would be extremely difficult for the Demon Eye Saint clan to carve out a path of blood in the midst of all the obstacles. The Lightning Saint clan wasn't the only one standing in the way of the Demon Eye clan. There were 9 other sacred clans. However, the Lightning Saint clan's clan leader becoming an emperor had caused the Demon Eye clan to be in dire straits. It really is very difficult. Chu Hen let out a deep breath as a helpless smile rose from the corner of his mouth. Li Wuxiang also smiled, but his smile was even more bitter. He glanced at Chu Hen and said, "Give up for now." HM? Chu Hen raised an eyebrow. Bear with it. The Demon Eye clan is indeed in dire straits. Chu Hen didn't say anything when he saw the complicated look in Li Wuxiang's eyes. He nodded slightly and walked away. Li Wuxiang sighed and was about to leave as well. But before he could turn around, a clear voice came from the front. "Where will the Sacred Race Assembly be held?" Li Wuxiang was startled and turned around to look at that young back view. His slender figure, which was not burly or broad, and even slightly thin, had an indescribable transcendent aura. Unknowingly, the immature youth from back then had already become so calm and steady. Northern Region's Qi Mountain, Spirit Empress Peak. Li Wuxiang answered loudly. Chu Hen didn't turn around. He just raised his right hand and pointed his index finger at the sky. "I will go." Looking at the other person's back slowly disappearing into the night, Li Wuxiang's heart was heavy and filled with anticipation. The Sacred Race Assembly. This was the most complicated situation they had ever faced. Not only were there other powerful sacred clans intercepting them, but the Thunder Sacred clan was also attacking. How were they supposed to fight this battle? In the quiet and tranquil courtyard, as soon as Chu Hen returned, he saw Luo Mengchong sitting in the courtyard waiting for him. "You're back." Luo Mengchong got up from the stone chair and looked at Chu Hen with a faint smile. "You haven't rested yet?" Chu Hen's eyes were filled with gentleness. Luo Mengchong shook her head slightly. "What did you guys talk about?" "Nothing much. It's just about the Sacred Race Assembly." "Are you going to participate?" "Yes." Chu Hen gave affirmation. His eyes were still filled with determination and deep meaning. "Although it's very difficult, I still want to do my best to protect the last bit of dignity of the Demon Eye Sacred Clan." Dignity. Chu Hen unconsciously clenched his fists. Luo Mengchong held his hand. Her clear eyes were like water, lovely and lovely. "I will be by your side." Chu Hen smiled gently and gently held Luo Mengchong's slender waist with one hand, letting her lean against his chest. Feeling the scorching aura from Chu Hen's body, Luo Mengchong's cheeks were slightly red. She tiptoed and whispered in Chu Hen's ear, "You can't today, him?" Chu Hen raised his handsome eyebrows slightly. "I'm a little uncomfortable," Luo Mengchong replied. "What's wrong? What do you feel uncomfortable?" Chu Hen placed his hand on her shoulder and asked in a concerned tone. Luo Mengchong pursed her red lips slightly. Her pair of beautiful big eyes were filled with ripples. After a slight hesitation, she smiled and shook her head. "It's nothing. You should focus on preparing for the Sacred Race Assembly. Don't think about doing bad things for the next few days." As she spoke, Luo Mengchong tiptoed and gently kissed Chu Hen's lips. Then, she turned around and ran away, leaving a dumbfounded Chu Hen behind. What's wrong with Luo Mengchong today? Chu Hen felt that she was a little strange. Thinking of how cute she looked when she ran away after kissing him, Chu Hen smiled and shook his head. He did not think much about it and walked toward his room. After entering the room, Chu Hen did not light up the lights. Looking at the dim room, Chu Hen's thoughts seemed to sink into an abyss with an indescribable depth. He slowly walked to the side of the bed, sat cross-legged, took a deep breath, and began to adjust his state. After a while, Chu Hen's breathing gradually returned to normal. Every breath he took was light, and it faintly led the rhythm of the air in the room. After a period of silence, within Chu Hen's Zifu of Zhenyuan, a bunch of purple light swirled abruptly. As the purple light rotated outside his body, a strange wave of power quietly surged in Chu Hen's body. Buzz! Suddenly, Chu Hen's eyes turned cold. In the darkness, a pair of deep and mysterious pupils flowed with thousands of evil purple lights. Rumble! As if he was in a trance, Chu Hen's consciousness was directly pulled into a vast and boundless ethereal world by an invisible force. The surroundings were chaotic and empty, and the sky and earth were dotted with galaxies. It was as if he was situated in a vast and boundless starry sky. Chu Hen felt as if he was a tiny speck of dust. Soon, an incomparably strong space rhythm gradually spread, together with a series of dreamy and distorted light curtain background. A pair of purple eyes, comparable to that of a demon god, suddenly appeared in the dark sky. Chu Hen stood under the purple demon eyes, as if he was in control of the 3,000 great paths come out. Chu Hen coldly yelled in his heart. Hua! A piercingly cold wind suddenly rose, and the strange, dreamy world that his consciousness was in fell into a violent distortion. Then, bang! A clear and heavy explosion sounded, and the space in front of the purple demon eyes seemed to collapse. Then, a mysterious aura from the dark land surged in this direction. This aura seemed to originate from the dark river, from the abyss, hidden in the chaos, and placed in the ethereal universe. The incomparable fierce aura crushed the space, like a giant boat smashing through the sky, attacking Chu Hen's mind and touching Chu Hen's soul. Roar, a low and deep sound, with a power that could make one's soul tremble. In the collapsed dark space, a huge, ancient phantom slowly appeared in front of Chu Hen. With every step the other party took, the evil aura in Chu Hen's body became restless, and even the speed of his blood began to accelerate. Screech! Looking at the ancient shadow that was getting closer and closer, the pair of purple-colored demon gods' eyes behind Chu Hen also revealed waves of frightening aura. In the depths of the purple eyes, several black dots appeared one after another and chased each other clockwise. Chapter 1590. Buzz! In the strange world that Chu Hen's divine sense had entered, it was a dreamy and illusory, chaotic space. Heaven and earth were collapsing, and an unparalleled evil aura was like a tsunami pouncing towards him. The ancient shadow that seemed to originate from a dark forest broke through the ethereal space and appeared in front of the pair of purple demonic eyes. The indifferent and cold purple eyes emitted an extraordinary might that overlooked all living things. Meanwhile, the black shadow also emitted a cold and mysterious majestic aura. Its enormous body and shocking evil aura were like a terrifying meteorite that was crashing down. Roar! Accompanied by a deep roar that made one's soul tremble in fear, the black shadow that came from the deep space directly stretched out a sharp giant claw towards the pair of purple eyes in front of it. Screech! The demonic purple eyes glowed with waves of intense energy. Two invisible and terrifying auras intertwined, and the entire ethereal and endless space was once again filled with scars. It was like the surface of a cracked mirror that showed signs of collapsing at any time. Meanwhile, Chu Hen's Niwen Palace was already in chaos. Woo! Spirit inscriptions flickered and talisman radiance swayed in the Niwen Palace. At this moment, the symbol beast that had transformed into a giant body was extremely irritable. Originally, its body was covered with a bright divine radiance, but now it was entangled with a series of dark black talismans. An uncontrollable evil aura surged out from the symbol beast's body. Its previously pure dark golden eyes had also turned into blood-red snake and crocodile vertical pupils. Roar! The symbol beast's 4 claws were on the ground, and its entire body was filled with blood energy. It was like a peerless evil demon. Buzz! The entire Niwen Palace was turning upside down. The long river of talismans formed by the Reiki energy flowed in the opposite direction. The demonic symbol beast roared at the sky, and the monstrous blood-red radiance that rose from its body converged into an especially huge skeleton shadow in the sky. In an instant, the huge Niwen Palace immediately darkened. The scarlet light vortex that was like a demonic barrier was like a star-ring storm that spread out, wantonly devouring the Reiki energy in the Niwen Palace. In the blink of an eye, Chu Hen's Niwen Palace immediately turned into a dark world that could not see the light of day. At a glance, it seemed like a corner of the demonic domain. The ferocious energy flowing in Chu Hen's blood began to boil and accelerate. The ferocious creature hidden in his body seemed to be hitting the cage that imprisoned it. Boom! Bang! The mountains, rivers, and earth in the Niwen Palace shook violently and cracked layer by layer. Accompanied by the dark nebulous storm that covered the sky and covered the earth, the symbol beast became increasingly uncontrollable. The corner of its mouth opened and sharp fangs emerged from its black hole-like mouth. Its 4 claws that were grabbing the ground also rapidly grew even sharper barbed claws. Even its lush treetop head began to turn a dark color. Its huge body continued to expand. The shape of the talisman beast became more and more evil and ferocious. It was also getting closer and closer to the evil tree it had devoured. Yeah, just when the talisman beast body became 1,000 feet tall, it seemed like a world-shocking ferocious creature that erupted with a tremendous force. Following a sharp howl, the ground under the talisman beast's claws was immediately overturned. Following that, it leaped into the sky and dragged a monstrous ferocious energy towards the sky where the black storm gathered. It seemed like it was going to tear apart the space in Chu Hen's Niwen Palace and break free from the heavenly net. However, at this moment, a thunderstorm exploded in the sky. Boom! A heavy explosion that shook the surroundings sounded. An ancient stone tablet that emitted a primordial aura descended from the sky. It was like a meteor that had smashed through the storm and collided with the evil talisman beast. Bang! The sky trembled and waves of air covered the sky. The evil talisman beast, that was more than 1,000 feet tall, heavily smashed to the ground. The mountains below were shattered and the mountains caved in. Following that, a black figure that looked like a demon god appeared in the sky. The demon god black figure raised its palm to the sky, and an incomparably vigorous pillar of light burst out from its palm. The pillar of light directly collided with the sinister-looking demon skeleton floating in the sky. Bang! A heavy and violent explosion sounded out. The blood-colored demon skeleton was instantly shattered into pieces and exploded into a chaotic cyclone that filled the sky. At the same time, incomparably strong and beautiful tree vines suddenly emerged from the depths of the cracked ground. Every street tree vine flickered with tens of thousands of resplendent talisman lights. The huge spirit vines quickly wrapped around the limbs and body of the evil talisman beast. The latter struggled with all its might. Its sharp claws continuously hacked at the spirit vines that were attacking it. Even so, it was still tightly bound by the tens of thousands of giant vines as it struggled. Buzz, buzz. Countless spirit vines that flickered with talisman lights quickly climbed above the evil talisman beast. The tree vines intertwined with each other and circled around it. Then they extended out one after another. The tens of thousands of branches spread out like a three-dimensional giant net. Hwah! In just a few seconds, a huge immortal spirit tree that was thousands of feet tall appeared. A dense, immortal spiritual energy spread in all directions. The huge tree twisted its roots and forcefully suppressed the evil talisman beast under the tree. It was like roots that extended deep into the ground, absorbing the nutrients in the soil. The tree roots that entangled the evil talisman beast were like millions of suction cups that began to wantonly devour the evil tree, energy within the evil talisman beast. A steady stream of energy began to flow into the street tree in the Niwen Palace. Countless red light rays swam inside and outside the tree trunk, following the branching branches and extending into the interior of every leaf. At the same time, Chuhen Street Tree was also growing at a speed visible to the naked eye as it wantonly absorbed the evil tree energy. The already lush tree crown was like a large umbrella that gradually opened up, continuously expanding its range. The stars moved, the sun and the moon alternated. Time was like sand that could not be held tightly, rapidly passing through one's fingers. The third day, in a slightly gloomy night sky, 10 stars surrounded a scarlet moon. On this day, the scarlet blood moon was so close to the world that people could even see the dark and mysterious patterns on the moon. Dawn was approaching. The first rays of the morning sun were about to rise. There seemed to be a melodious low chant between heaven and earth. The devilish scarlet moon glowed with a demonic spiritual light. When the sky turned white, a ray of morning light penetrated the clouds in the east and sprinkled into the sky. The holy star guarding the moon, that had lasted for several months, finally ushered in its most glorious full moon state. In the various provinces, in the various continents, in addition, in the various sacred clans, in the towering firmament balconies, in the dark secret chambers, pairs of peerlessly sharp eyes quietly opened. The sacred clan meeting, the heavenly emperor token. Since ancient times, the most important ceremony in the human race's territory was finally about to begin. In the various clans and territories, one after another, imposing and peerless figures stood up. The sacred radiance of the tens of thousands of stars that were hidden in all parts of time began to penetrate the darkness, exuding a peerless elegance that belonged to them. The sacred clan meeting. 2. Chapter 1591. Qianqian. Update the latest chapter of Divine King Wuji as soon as possible. Buzz. After 3 days of chaos, Chuhen's Niwen Palace finally regained its peace. However, the huge Niwen Palace was still dark, and the sun couldn't be seen. The thick blood-colored demonic barrier was like a fog that wouldn't dissipate for 1,000 years, shrouding every corner of the interior. In the central area, a towering tree that was more than 6,000 to 7,000 meters tall was like a huge umbrella. Its lush branches and leaves extended endlessly, looking extremely majestic. This was Chuhen's Street Tree. It supported the Niwen Palace and was the source of Reiki energy. However, the current street tree was completely different from before. There was a huge difference. Aside from the fact that it had doubled in size, the runes engraved on the tree had also undergone many changes. There were many new and extremely complicated ancient runes. In the middle of the street tree's trunk, there was a strange beast shadow engraved. The beast shadow had the original characteristics of a rune beast, but it was more ferocious. It was like a new product of demonization, and it was hard to tell whether it was good or evil. Apart from that, the most obvious change in the entire street tree was that it no longer shone with spiritual light. Originally, its entire body, from the trunk to the branches and leaves, was gorgeous and dazzling. From afar, it looked like it was covered in countless diamonds. But now, there was a hint of evil and evil aura. Strands of red light patterns revolved around the top and bottom of the Tao tree like a demonic mist. Buzz, suddenly, something amazing happened. The towering street tree suddenly glowed with a gentle and holy radiance. A series of bright and beautiful silver rays of light bloomed from the street tree, and the runes on the hundreds of millions of leaves flickered with spiritual patterns. It was like the stars were swaying, decorating the world. In an instant, the thick blood-colored demonic aura that shrouded the Niwen Palace was quickly expelled. It was like the fog after the sun appeared, thinning and finally disappearing. The gloomy Mudpill Palace world returned to its former brightness and brightness. The cracked mountains and the earth were also rapidly coming back together. The great river, formed by the Reiki energy, was as magnificent as the vast ocean. In the spacious and bright room, Chu Hen opened his eyes and exhaled a mouthful of white turbid air. His deep eyes exuded a temperament that seemed to have gone through baptism once again. There was a kind of indescribable clarity. That evil tree is really shocking. It almost turned the talisman beast into a devil. Chu Hen muttered to himself. What he did not know was that the tree that was brought out from the misty sky was the divine tree of immortal talismans that even the heavenly mystery palace did not possess. Because it had been invaded by the evil aura of tens of thousands of years, it had finally turned into an evil tree. Even so, the powerful divine power that it possessed was still there. Therefore, it was also a product of both good and evil. Chu Hen secretly shook his head. Qi Tianling and the Heart Beast were already extremely ferocious. Now that there was also the evil tree, it was really a headache. It seemed like he had to find a way to purify that evil tree. Although he was still a little uneasy, when he felt the powerful power flowing in his body, Chu Hen could not help but flash a proud light in his eyes. Creak! Chu Hen pushed open the door, and a cool breeze blew over. At this moment, there were already many figures waiting in the courtyard outside the room. Chu Hen is out. Everyone's eyes lit up. Chu Hen was also stunned. Other than Luo Mingshang, Long Qingyang, and Su Yurong, there was also the leader of Mount Kunliu, Gong Yanyu, the three hall masters, as well as Lung Lingyan, Shan Jun, Qin Shi, Xu Hua, and other familiar friends. You guys, we have a cheer for you. Hua Shui walked forward and said. She clenched her fists and made an encouraging gesture. Do your best. Chu Hen did not find it funny, but he felt a little warm inside. Third brother, Xuan Chuang, and Yi Yao are still in seclusion. I don't think they can go with us to the north. We are coming. Before Long Qingyang could finish his sentence, a gust of wind swept towards them. Accompanied by a strong aura, the fallen leaves in the courtyard were startled, and a cold, elegant, and beautiful figure appeared in front of everyone. Long Qingyang was stunned. You too. Big Brother Chu Hen is going to participate in the Sacred Clan Conference as a member of the Demonic Eye Clan. Of course, we can't miss such an important event. Yi Yao stepped forward. Her originally clear eyes were now filled with a transcendent aura. Long Xuan also walked up to them and looked at Chu Hen meaningfully. Don't be too stressed out. Just try your best. Seeing that Long Xuan and Yi Yao's auras were much stronger than before, Chu Hen smirked. I will. The crowd slowly parted to the left and right. Two burly middle-aged figures in front of Chu Hen slowly turned around. Apart from Li Wushang, who was waiting here, even Long Zhan had returned to Kuan City from the 100 Nation state. Chu Hen's gaze was steady as he walked towards the two of them. Uncle Zhan. Long Zhan faintly smiled and his thick palm lightly patted Chu Hen's shoulder like a father. No matter what the outcome is, we are proud of you. Li Wushang's eyes darkened. If you're ready, let's go. Let's go. Chu Hen raised his head and looked at the azure 9 heavens. Wherever his gaze landed, his heart was infinitely enlarged. The vast and boundless sky was as if it was completely contained within Chu Hen's eyes. The rock soared with the wind and soared 90,000 miles. The Sacred Clan Conference. I, Chu Hen, am coming. The Sacred Clan Conference was the most important ceremony of the human race. Ever since the Celestial Thearch's death, there have been a total of 22 Sacred Clan Conferences. This upcoming 23rd time would be more eye-catching than any other time in the past, and it would affect everyone's hearts. The Sacred Clan Conference is finally starting. Yes, all the teams from the Sacred Clans have already set off for Mount Qi in the northern region. There are also a few domains that are further away that have already set off a few days ago. I'm really looking forward to it. Whether the Demon Eye Sacred Clan can keep their title as one of the 10 strongest Sacred Clans will depend on this. The chances are almost zero. Right now, the Demon Eye Sacred Clan isn't even as strong as a normal Sacred Clan. There's no doubt they'll be eliminated. That's true. The Demon Eye Sacred Clan doesn't have the arch, nor does it have the Sacred Eye Sacred Clan's internal strength or external help. The 10 strongest sacred clans are most likely going to change. The only thing I'm concerned about is whether the Samsara Sacred Clan can win the 10th tournament and take over the Celestial Arch token. A series of events took place. The atmosphere of the entire human race finally erupted. The two things people cared about the most were the fate of the Demon Eye Sacred Clan and the direction of the Celestial Arch token. Whether the Samsara Sacred Clan could win the 10th city was the focus of attention. The changes in the situation and the passage of time made this Sacred Clan conference a significant change for everyone. The geniuses of the various races. A gathering of heroes. This was no longer a battle between dragons and pythons, but a battle between the stars and the moon. In order to stop the Samsara Sacred Clan, the other sacred clans would do their best to stop them. Moreover, the 10 strongest sacred clans had all won the throne of champions in history. Therefore, even if the Samsara Sacred Clan wanted to win the 10th city, there was still a lot of resistance. The Sacred Clan Conference. The spiritual Empress Peak, Chi Mountain of the Northern Region. The Battle of the Peerless Sacred Body was about to begin. Chapter 1592. In 1 second, remember, there was no pop-up window for free reading. Mount Chi of the Northern Region. The towering and precipitous mountain towered into the clouds, standing in the long river of time. Mount Chi's unique style and charm were especially amazing. It was like a vast divine mountain standing in the world, the Spirit House Peak, looking down on the northern region, admired by all. The scenery in Mount Chi was picturesque, like a paradise on earth, fascinating and amazing. Looking from afar, there were red-crowned cranes dancing in the sky above Mount Chi. There were magnificent stone paths connecting the mountain pillars, and there were iron chain suspension bridges crossing the sky. In a mountain stream, a waterfall hung high in the sky. Zhongling was extremely beautiful, too beautiful to behold. Mount Chi was the most famous sacred mountain in the northern region. It was located in the inner prefecture of the northern region, and it covered an extremely vast area. This area was also known as the land of the gods closest to heaven. Today, Mount Chi could be said to be unusually lively. Because it was the place where the Sacred Clan Convention was held, the geniuses of the Sacred Clan from the various domains and continents were like stars in the sky, gathering at Mount Chi's Spirit House Peak. That's Mount Chi. After passing through many teleportation arrays, Chu Hen, Luo Mengsheng, Li Wushang, and the others finally set foot on the northern region. Because of the Sacred Clan Convention, the large-scale teleportation arrays connecting the various provinces were also unconditionally fully opened. There was no need to wait. The people from the various sacred clans could use the teleportation arrays between the provinces to go to the northern region at any time. This greatly reduced the travel time between the domains of several continents. Moreover, the eastern region and the northern region were adjacent to each other, so Chu Hen and the others spent even less time. The Spirit House Peak is the largest sect in charge of Mount Chi, and it also has the strength of an ordinary sacred clan. Li Wushang casually explained. Everyone nodded. Looking from afar, the Spirit House Peak was high up in the sky, surrounded by celestial mist. As they approached the mountain gate of the Spirit Abyssal Peak, the troops from all directions were like rivers flowing into the sea, continuously flowing into Chi Mountain. In the sky above Mount Chi, there were majestic giant beasts pulling carriages. There were also mounts carrying people. There were even people riding on flying swords. Countless young experts with extraordinary auras gathered like immortals. Just the way they made their appearance was especially unique. Aren't there too many people? Are there really so many sacred race members? Yao exclaimed. Li Wushang shook his head and calmly replied, although it's the Sacred Race Conference, in reality, as long as you're a sacred physique cultivator, you can also participate in this ceremony. Oh, everyone's eyes lit up. In that case, Sister Xuan, Brother Qingyang, and I can also participate in the Sacred Clan Convention? Yi Yao continued to ask. Yes, Li Wushang confirmed. Do you want to try? You can be counted as part of the Demon Eye Sacred Clan's camp, Chu Hen said. Yao looked at Long Xuan. The latter hesitated for a moment, then shook her head. There are many experts in the Sacred Clan Convention. We shouldn't cause trouble for you. It was the most important ceremony in the human domain. The elites of the various sacred races gathered. There were even the 10 unparalleled sacred physiques dominating the competition. As for those ordinary limitless sacred physiques and sacred physiques, most of them were only here with the mentality of participating to gain some popularity. The final protagonists of the Sacred Race Convention were still the 10 strongest sacred races and the few powerful races. If it was any other time, the people around Chu Hen would be able to enjoy the atmosphere of the Sacred Race Convention with a playful attitude. However, the convention this time around wasn't friendly towards the Demon Eye Saint clan that Chu Hen belonged to. Under such a tense situation, there was no need for the others to get involved. Large groups of people entered Spirit House Peak like flocks of birds and beasts. Chu Hen and the others directly went through the main gate's Heaven Stairway Avenue and entered the mountain gate. The majestic Spirit House Peak opened wide, and after climbing a flight of steps thousands of meters above the ground, the group stepped onto the main peak's front courtyard square. The first thing that came into view was a stone tablet that was dozens of meters tall. At the top of the stone tablet were 2 arrow signs. East, west. What's the meaning of this? Chu Hen and the others were a little confused when they saw the 2 signs on the stone tablet. Was the Sacred Race Convention divided into competition zones? At this time, 2 young men dressed as guides walked over. You can choose any of the 2 venues for the preliminary round. One of the young men said. They could choose any one of them. Why is that? Long Qingyang asked casually. It's like this. The young man paused for a moment before explaining to the crowd in a clear and orderly manner. Because this Sacred Race Convention is very likely to be the last one, the number of participants will be much greater than in the past. Therefore, the preliminary round will be split into 2 venues. This way, it won't appear too chaotic. Everyone knew that the Samsara Saint clan had won the championship 9 times before this. If they won the 10th championship this time, the Heavenly Emperor token would belong to the Samsara Saint clan, and there wouldn't be a need for the Sacred Race Convention in the future. The geniuses with the sage physiques from the various continents wanted to grab this last chance to participate. Even if it was just to experience the atmosphere, it would be great. Is this how all the clans are arranged? Chu Hen asked. Yes, the Sacred Race can choose any of the eastern or western regions. The opponents for the preliminary round are all random. The other person explained. That Sacred Race participant, can he go to the 2 regions separately? Yes, you can. You can compete separately. Chu Hen nodded. In that case, he didn't have to wait for the others from the demonic Eye Saint clan, and Luo Mengchong didn't have to follow the Abyssal Saint clan's team. Which region are we going to? Luo Mengchong looked at Chu Hen. After a short moment of hesitation, a strange light flashed across Chu Hen's eyes. Eastern region. Everyone was stunned at first, but they couldn't help but smile at each other. Making a comeback. That's a good message. Long Zhan laughed. The others also nodded. May I know which sacred race you are from? One of the ushers asked. The demonic Eye Saint clan. Chu Hen replied calmly. Oh. As soon as they heard these words, the 2 guides couldn't help but look at each other with a hint of frivolity on their faces that they were trying to cover up. This way, please. One of the ushers raised his hand and gestured for Chu Hen and the others to walk towards a wide road in the east. Chu Hen nodded and walked towards the eastern region with the others. So, it's the demonic Eye Saint clan. Is there no one else in that clan? Only a few of them came. The low and mocking laughter of the 2 guides behind them was like a mosquito buzzing, entering Chu Hen and the others' ears. It's good enough that they have the courage to come. If it was me, I wouldn't have come to this Sacred Race Conference to save myself from embarrassment. Lower your voice. Don't let them hear you. What's there to be afraid of? I'm afraid that the 10 strongest sacred clans won't have the demonic eye anymore in 2 days. Even though the 2 of them had lowered their voices, with Chu Hen's group's cultivation, their words were still clear and somewhat ear-piercing. Those 2 bastards. Yi Yao gritted her teeth. Just as she was about to turn around to settle the score, Chu Hen pulled her back. Brother Chu Hen, it's fine. Chu Hen smiled and shook his head. There's no need to bother with them. Yi Yao forcefully suppressed the anger in her stomach. Big brother Chu Hen, this time, no matter what, you must protect the honor of the Demon Ice Sacred Clan and make them all shut up. I will. Chu Hen nodded and did not say anything else. In the next second, when Chu Hen turned around, his deep eyes quietly turned dark, and a cold intent hidden in the depths of his pupils quietly surged. After walking through the vast square in the front yard of the spiritual precipice peak, Chu Hen, Luo Mengsheng, and the others stepped onto a wide, suspended iron bridge. The iron bridge, which was more than a few thousand meters long, traversed between two giant peaks. The steep peaks and cliffs formed a vast canyon. In the canyon below, the winding and rugged stream extended to the corner of the river. The waterfall flew into the sky, accompanied by red-crowned cranes and birds flying together. The picturesque scenery was very dreamy. Under the bright sunlight, the inside of the canyon sparkled, as if it was decorated with countless stars and diamonds. Walking on the suspended iron bridge, the beautiful scenery of the spiritual precipice peak could be seen. In the distant sky above the mountain stream, there were other iron bridges, and there were even mountains and buildings floating in the void. Those ancient and majestic buildings seemed to be free of gravity as they soared into the sky, such as immortal palaces and shrines. It was breathtaking. It's really spectacular. How did they do that? Everyone on Mount Kunlun looked at the particularly shocking buildings in the sky, and they were all very surprised. No wonder the Sacred Clan Convention was held here. Mount Qi's spiritual precipice peak was indeed worthy of the name Sacred Mountain. After walking through the long iron bridge, an even wider square appeared in front of everyone. The square was clearly divided, and there was a grand platform built in the middle. At the top and bottom of the platform, there are fountains, arched bridges, stone pillars, and many other strange sculptures. Although a large number of people had already gathered in the square, it did not seem crowded for such a spacious place. Instead, it looked a little loose. As soon as Chu Hen and the others stepped into the square, they immediately looked at them with sharp eyes, and it was accompanied by a low voice of discussion. Which clan is this? The Demon Pupil Clan? That's Chu Hen, the one who destroyed the War God Palace. Don't you know? Oh, he's Chu Hen? Because of the great turmoil that happened in the Midland a while ago, Chu Hen's name had long been known by people in the Midland. However, people didn't seem to be too frightened by Chu Hen's arrival. Instead, most of them narrowed their eyes and looked at him with contempt. He's a little bold. Doesn't he know that during the Sacred Race Conference, the Antiquity Sacred Race can kill him in the open? Chapter 1593. He's quite daring. Doesn't he know that during the Sacred Race Conference, the Antiquity Sacred Race can kill him in the open? He's digging his own grave. Chu Hen destroyed the god of War Palace. Everyone knew. It was no longer a secret that the Wilderness Holy Clan was behind the god of War Palace. Although they were also one of the 10 strongest holy clans, the Demon Holy Clan no longer had the power to fight against the Wilderness Holy Clan. Previously, because of the intervention of the Star Holy Clan, the Sky Burning Holy Clan, and the Wilderness Holy Clan, Chu Hen was able to escape unscathed. However, once they arrived at the venue of the Sacred Race Convention, the Wilderness Sacred Race would have sufficient reason to target Chu Hen. The people who came with Chu Hen were a little unhappy with the strange gazes of the people around the square. It seems that the obstacles in front of you are much more than you imagined, Li Wushang said calmly. Chu Hen did not think much of it and touched his nose. I'm used to it. Chu Hen, you guys are here. At this moment, a few familiar figures hurried over. It's Xingyi and Qingkai. Yi Yao was the first to call out. Chu Hen's eyes also lit up. The people who came are none other than Zhao Qingyi, Zhao Qingkai, Qiao Shaowan, Han Yichuan, Qiu Xingyi, Wang Li, Wu Yin, and a few other Wuzongs. Not far behind them, Imo Qing Li and Qing Shui were also heading toward them. On Qing Shui's shoulder, there was an exquisite and cute little monkey with golden fur. Qing Shui is here too, Yi Yao said in surprise. I'm here to cheer for Brother Chu Hen. Qingxue blinked her big eyes and said obediently. The little monkey on his shoulder also spoke a few words in the monkey language, zhi. Looking at the familiar people, Chu Hen was both surprised and relieved. How long have you been here? We came from Martial Alliance and just arrived this morning. Qiu Xingyi replied and patted Chu Hen's shoulder. Junior brother Chu Hen, we don't know what to say. Just try your best. No matter what the outcome is, we'll cheer for you. That's right, junior martial brother Chu Hen, relax. As the saying goes, where there's life, there's hope. There's no need to pay too much attention to the upcoming Sacred Race meeting. Wanli spoke up as well. Everyone was well aware of the Demon Eye Sacred Clan's current situation. There was no doubt that Chu Hen was under a lot of pressure, but everyone could only comfort him with words. Feeling the concern in everyone's words, Chu Hen smiled and nodded. Thank you all for coming. You're being too polite. We're all brothers who have risked our lives for you. Even if we don't have a part in the Sacred Race meeting, we still have to cheer for you. Wu Yin clenched her right fist and hammered her chest. Sect Master Dongfang said that he'll definitely be there on the day of the finals. We believe that you have the ability to fight your way to the finals. The finals? A helpless smile rose from the corner of Chu Hen's mouth. Then he nodded. I'll do my best. All right, why don't I see Miss Qinyu? At this moment, Zhao Qingkai suddenly blurted out, Isn't she with you? Long Qingyang, Long Shuang, and Yi Yao's expressions immediately became extremely strange. Oh yeah? Where's Sister Qinyu? Is she back to the Divine Eye Sacred Clan? Will she come later? Qingxue also joined in. She even used her shoulder to bump Chu Hen's arm and said with a sweet and innocent smile, I'm going crazy. Yi Yao slapped her head. This scene seemed very familiar. Long Qingyang hurriedly pointed at the beautiful figure beside Chu Hen and said, This is Miss Luo Mengchong. It's our first time meeting each other. Let me introduce her. What? Luo Mengchong? Upon hearing these words, Zhao Qingkai and Qingxue were immediately dumbfounded. The atmosphere immediately froze. A cold breeze blew past, and the scene became extremely awkward. Zhao Qingsai's mouth fell open as he laughed dryly. So you're Miss Mengchong. Nice to meet you. Luo Mengchong was not angry. She smiled slightly. Nice to meet you all. Hee, happy. Zhao Qingkai wanted to cry, but no tears came out. The same thing had happened to her twice. The last time in Hidden Sky City, she had mistaken by Qinyu for Luo Mengchong and was extremely embarrassed. This time, she had directly mentioned by Qinyu in front of Luo Mengchong, and she was about to go crazy. Why didn't you guys tell me? Zhao Qingkai, who had retreated to the side, whispered to Qiao Shaowan helplessly. Qiao Shaowan snorted with a fake smile. I wanted to tell you, but who would have thought that you would be so fast? I'm about to die of depression. I think you're not the only one who's going to die of depression. Zhao Qingkai shrunk his head and glanced at Chu Hen a little embarrassedly. However, Chu Hen's expression did not change, but it was unknown if he was really that calm, or if he was pretending to be calm. Only Mo Qingli looked at Chu Hen with a complicated expression. When he mentioned the 3 words by Qinyu, Mo Qingli could clearly feel a trace of loneliness in the depths of Chu Hen's eyes. As time passed, more and more people gathered at the Eastern Plaza. The major forces that wanted to participate in the Sacred Race Conference also gradually arrived. There were even many acquaintances that Chu Hen knew. For example, Lin Yinghe of the 5 Elements Sacred Clan, Tang Bufan of the Imperial Magnificence Palace, Sido Hanye of the Wind Frost City, and other geniuses on the Central Continent's Feng Yun list had also appeared. Although the Sacred War enlistment and the Sacred Race meeting could not be compared at all, it was very likely that this would be the last Sacred Race meeting. Therefore, those geniuses who possessed sacred physiques and bloodlines also came to join the fun. Suddenly, a wave of restlessness arose in the crowd. The Light Sacred Races team is here. Wow! A low clamor immediately arose in the plaza. The Light Sacred Race? Chu Hen, Long Qingyang, Kuan Lu Shan, and the others also followed the crowd's attention to the vast and majestic Iron Chain Bridge. Just like their name. The moment the Light Sacred Races team appeared, They were as dazzling as the sun. Under the cautious gazes of the crowd, the Light's Sacred Races team crossed the suspension bridge like a divine rainbow and stepped onto the plaza. They had a dignified bearing and a sharp edge. They were like beams of dazzling light that sprinkled on the Eastern Plaza, as expected of a tribe that's second only to the 10 strongest sacred races. This aura really makes people not dare to get too close. This year's Light's Sacred Race seems to be very strong. I wonder if they have any hope of making it to the top 10 strongest sacred races. It's possible. The Light's Sacred Body's bloodline boundary power has reached its peak. It's not much weaker than the 10 strongest sacred bodies. Is that Yao in the lead? He's the #1 person among the Light Sacred Race's younger generation. I heard that his cultivation level is close to that of a quasi-emperor. Most of the crowd's attention was focused on the white-robed man in the lead. When the Light's Sacred Race arrived at the Eastern Plaza like a divine rainbow, the sky on the other side of the plaza suddenly darkened. There are no dark clouds covering the sky, but the light between heaven and earth seemed inexplicably dim. It's them, the Dark Sacred Race. Chapter 1594. It's them, the Sacred Darkness Clan. Just as everyone in the Eastern Square was marveling at the sharp aura emitted by the Light Sacred Race, an aura that was completely opposite to theirs came from the other end of the square. There were no dark clouds in the sky, but everyone could feel an invisible dark shadow shrouding them. Under many surprised gazes, an extraordinary team slowly walked into the Eastern Square. The leader was dressed in black and had an arrogant aura between his brows. Linen, the #1 person in the Sacred Darkness Clan. The surrounding crowd exclaimed. Interesting, the Light faction and the Darkness faction have actually appeared in the Eastern Square. Yao and Lin and our old rivals. Light, darkness. It was as if they were day and night. The appearance of these two powerful sacred clans caused a commotion in the Eastern Square. That person seems to be Xiao Cheng, Yi Yao suddenly said. Chu Hen and the others who were standing in the outer area also noticed the extraordinary aura of the Light faction and the Darkness faction. At the same time, there was a familiar figure among the Sacred Darkness Clan's team. His opponent was none other than the Spirit Phoenix Valley's head disciple. Because of Huang Fuqing, he fought with Chu Hen for Huang Fuqing's affections and ultimately lost to Chu Hen, Xiao Cheng. It's him. Xiao Xingyi nodded in affirmation. There were rumors that Xiao Cheng is from the Sacred Darkness Clan. It seems that it's true, Wang Li said in a low voice. On the day of the final battle of the Sacred War in the Chaos Devil Domain, Chu Hen had severely injured Xiao Cheng and almost destroyed his cultivation. Looking at him from afar, Xiao Cheng's aura was cold and his face was pale. However, the power that he exuded was much stronger than before. Xiao Cheng's cultivation has recovered. Wu Yin was slightly surprised. Yes, he seems to have made great progress. I wonder what method the Sacred Darkness Clan's higher-ups used to help him recover. As they spoke, they subconsciously turned to look at Chu Hen. However, Chu Hen's face was calm. He did not feel much emotional about Xiao Cheng's appearance. The Light Sacred Clan's Yao and the Darkness Sacred Clan's Linen, the two monstrous geniuses, merely exchanged glances with each other across the river. The corners of their mouths curled into provocative smiles. The people who were in the middle of the two clans could not help but feel as if they were at the boundary of the alternating day and night. He had to admit that the pressure from the two sacred clans was quite obvious. However, before everyone could recover from the pressure exerted by the Light and Darkness Saint clans, two even more powerful auras assaulted them like a powerful magnetic force, instantly causing everyone's heartstrings to tremble. These two auras are... I can't be wrong. It's definitely them. Many pairs of eyes that were filled with shock looked at the floating bridge that connected the two sides of the East Square. The people on both sides exuded a heart-palpitating aura. His extraordinary aura suppressed the troops of the Light Sacred Clan and the Dark Sacred Clan. Even the two monstrous geniuses, Yao and Linen, could not help but frown. Without a doubt, the 10 strongest Saint race teams had appeared on stage. It's the Star Saint Clan and the Sky Scorched Saint Clan. That's scary. These two Saint clans have come to the East Square. Let's hurry up and change zones. If we encounter these people, we will have to kneel in the first round of the preliminary round. Don't worry, there are still the other 8 strongest Saint clans. Who knows if the Star Saint clan and the Sky Scorch Saint clan will come to the East Square. If the rest are all squeezed in the West Square, we will definitely not be defeated so easily. That makes sense. To the people who participated in the Sacred Clan Convention, the last thing they wanted to encounter was to encounter opponents from the 10 strongest Saint clans in advance. Otherwise, there would be no experience to speak of. After all, it was the most important ceremony in the human territory. Experts with divine physiques from various domains and continents were gathered. Everyone wanted to take this opportunity to draw a strong and colorful stroke in the convention. As the 2 teams of the Star Saint clan and the Sky Scorch Saint clan entered the East Square, the people from the other Saint clans like the 5-Element Saint clan and the New Moon Saint clan were like specks of light at the edge of the bright moon, very dim. The leader of the Star Saint clan was a handsome young man. The corners of his eyes were long and narrow, and his eyebrows were thin and long. In addition to his fair skin, he gave off a gentle and refined feeling. On the side of the Sky Scorch Saint clan, the young man who was walking at the front was dressed in red. He had an extraordinary heroic spirit between his eyebrows, and the corners of his lips were slightly raised, giving off a charming arc. Chun Jingfeng, Yin Hanyu, both of them are the hot candidates to win the Sacred Clan Convention this time. Qiu Xingyi explained to Chu Hen in a low voice. Chu Hen nodded slightly, and some cautiousness flashed in his eyes. Although there was still a distance between them, he could already feel the strong power of the bloodline boundary from the 2 of them. Behind Qin Jingfeng, Chu Hen also saw a familiar person. It was Meng Xiaolin, who was also a member of the Star Saint clan. And beside Yin Hanyu of the Sky Scorch Saint clan, there was also Di Qiong, whom he had seen before. Meng Xiaolin and Di Qiong had both appeared during the Sacred War and the Battle of the God of War Palace. There was also Lu Mian of the Great Wilderness Holy Clan, who had not arrived yet. He did not know if the Great Wilderness Holy Clan's team had gone to the Western District, or if they were still on the way. Even though the 2 monstrous figures, Meng Xiaolin and Di Qiong, were revered and feared by countless people, they were like little brothers to Qin Jingfeng and Yin Hanyu. A half-step emperor? Chu Hen turned sideways and said to Li Wushang. At least, the latter replied. Stronger than you? Chu Hen was slightly surprised. Li Wushang nodded slightly. Both of them, Long Qingyang, Long Xuanshuang, Qiao Shaowan, and the others beside him could not help but change their expressions. They had personally witnessed Li Wushang's super strength. Back in Mang City, Li Wushang had defeated the Light Saint Clan's vice clan leader with just 1 move. How could such a powerful cultivation be inferior to those 2 Sacred Clan juniors? To be precise, they're both quasi-emperors, Li Wushang said again. What about you? Half-step emperor. What's the difference? There's not much difference in terms of cultivation level. But to be honest, quasi-emperor refers to those who have a high chance of becoming an emperor. As for me, I might not be able to become a quasi-emperor just because I become an emperor, Li Wushang explained. Chu Hen raised his eyebrows slightly. He remembered that Li Wushang had once said that his talent was almost at its limit. Even if he could kill the Light Saint Clan's vice clan leader with 1 move, he was only a peak quasi-emperor. The strength of his talent and bloodline determined that he could only go so far. However, Qin Jingfeng and Yin Hanyu were completely different. They still had endless possibilities. He already had such a cultivation level at such a young age. It was only a matter of time before he became an emperor. This was the difference between a quasi-emperor and a quasi-emperor. Qin Jingfeng, TSK, isn't he too handsome? No wonder he's one of the favorites to win. He definitely has the demeanor of a king. Yin Hanyu too. He has the demeanor of a champion. That's strange. Why don't the 2 clans come together? Aren't the Sky Burning Saint clan and the Star Saint clan quite close? According to the friendly relations between the 2 clans, they thought that Qin Jingfeng and Yin Hanyu would greet each other in a friendly manner. Surprisingly, the 2 of them merely glanced at each other and didn't seem to have any intention of gathering together. You don't know. Is there a secret? Although the sky-burning Saint Clan and the star Saint Clan have a good relationship, Chun Jingfeng and Yin Hanyu don't get along very well. As far as I know, they're rivals in love. Oh, rivals in love? That's right. Chun Jingfeng and Yin Hanyu's lover is the first lady of the holy-eyed Saint Clan, Emperor Bai's daughter, by Qin Yu. Wow, what an enviable woman. Chun Jingfeng and Yin Hanyu were extremely popular. The private affairs of the two were immediately discussed enthusiastically by others. Many young women in the Eastern Square couldn't help but reveal envious expressions when they heard that the two of them liked the same person. When Chu Hen's side heard the 3 words by Qin Yu, he couldn't help but stare blankly for a moment. Several people's gazes swept over Chu Hen. If that's the case, isn't Chu Hen also their rival in love? Zhao Qingkai muttered softly. Wow. Suddenly, at this moment, the atmosphere in the East Square became even more restless. Who are you talking about? Who's here? The people from the Holy-Eyed Saint Clan are here. Come. Wonderful Book House. Chapter 1595. The Holy-Eyed Saint Clan is here. Speak of who will arrive. In an instant, the already restless East Square was suddenly filled with an intense atmosphere. Chu Hen, Luo Mengshang, and the rest were stunned. Their gazes all turned toward the sky-traversing suspension bridge that was coming from the south. The Holy-Eyed Saint Clan's team was like the stars in the night sky, attracting everyone's attention. Even Qin Jingfeng and Yin Hanyu's eyes lit up when they saw the beautiful figure at the front of the team. Bai Qinyu, the daughter of the White Emperor of the Holy-Eyed Saint Clan. Bai Qinyu was dressed in a white robe with golden stripes. While it did not affect her elegance, it added a hint of elegance to her. She had a peerless appearance and an innate noble temperament. None of the women present could compare to her. Is that the daughter of the White Emperor? She is indeed peerless. In the past, I only heard that the daughter of the holy-eyed Great Emperor was stunning. Now that I see it, the rumors are true. Yes, no wonder Qin Jingfeng and Yin Hanyu are unwilling to talk to each other. It is indeed understandable. Soon, the Holy-Eyed Saint Clan's team crossed the suspended bridge and entered the East Square. Qin Jingfeng of the Star Divine Clan and Yin Hanyu of the Sky-Burning Saint Clan put down their respective identities and went forward from the left and right respectively. Qing Xue, who was on the other side, could not help but shout, "Sister Qinyu." Although her voice was not loud, the Holy-Eyed Saint Clan heard her clearly. Bai Qinyu subconsciously looked over. Long Qingyang, Long Xuan, Yi Yao, Imo Qingli, and the rest were all stunned. When Bai Qinyu's gaze met with Chu Hen's, who was standing in the middle of the group, Chu Hen frowned slightly, his hands involuntarily clenched into fists. Her beautiful peach blossom eyes were still lovely, but compared to before, she was a little less bright and pretty and a little more worried. It was as if she had gone through a special baptism, with a hint of melancholy and beauty. The look in Bai Qinyu's eyes once again disturbed the peace in Chu Hen's heart. Big Sister Qinyu has lost a lot of weight. Yi Yao muttered to herself with a slight heartache. These words were like a sharp thorn that pierced into Chu Hen's heart, and a trace of bitterness faintly surged out from his eyes. At this time, Bai Qinyu's gaze shifted slightly and landed on Luo Mengchong, who was next to Chu Hen. Bai Qinyu looked at Luo Mengchong, whose beauty was not inferior to hers, with a complicated look in her eyes. Then, she retracted her gaze and no longer looked at Chu Hen. She continued to lead the Holy-Eyed Saint Tribe's team towards the central area of the Eastern Plaza. Junior Sister Qinyu, long time no see. Qinyu, you're finally here. I've been waiting for you outside for a long time. At the same time, Chun Jingfeng and Yin Hanyu also walked in front of the Holy-Eyed Sacred Tribe. Senior Brother Chun, Big Brother Yin, how have you been? Bai Qinyu nodded slightly and smiled politely. I'm getting more and more optimistic, Chun Jingfeng said with a smile. Heh. Yin Hanyu raised his handsome eyebrows slightly and said with slight disdain, Brother Chen only knows how to pick nice things to say. Can't you see that Qinyu looks a little haggard? Then, Yin Hanyu looked at Bai Qinyu and said, Did you encounter something unhappy? Tell me, I'll settle it for you. Chun Jingfeng, who had been choked, was not angry. He revealed a charming smile and said to Bai Qinyu, "Do you want to consider marrying me? I'll protect you for the rest of your life." Wow! As soon as he said this, the entire Eastern Plaza immediately went into an uproar. Countless women were extremely envious and jealous. Yin Hanyu was so angry that his eyes widened. "Chunyu, it's been so many years. Are you still not going to give me an answer?" Chun Jingfeng's voice was gentle enough to melt any woman's heart. Bai Qinyu smiled and replied with a smile, "Thank you, senior brother Chun, for thinking about me for so many years. After the Holy Clan Conference ends, I'll think about it." "You're joking, right?" Yin Hanyu hurriedly said. "Not necessarily. I'm not young anymore. It's time for me to find someone to marry." After saying this, Bai Qinyu nodded slightly and directly led the people of the divine Saint clan through the periphery of the plaza. Chun Jingfeng was instantly overjoyed, and there was an unconcealable smile on his face. Yin Hanyu snorted coldly. "Don't be too happy too early. You also told me to think about it last time. In the end, you thought about it for 5 or 6 years. That's just you," Chun Jingfeng said disapprovingly. Chun Jingfeng did not think much of it. "After I win the championship of the Sacred Clan Conference, I'll let the Star Emperor personally propose to the divine Sacred Clan on my behalf." That's not a bad idea. But you're not the only one who has the ability to win." After saying this, the two of them once again followed Bai Qinyu's footsteps. In the entire world, there was only one person who could be treated like this by two popular candidates for the Holy Clan Conference: Bai Qinyu. On the other side, Xiao Xiaowan, Han Ichuan, Zhao Qinkai, and the others all looked at Chu Hen in confusion. "What's going on between you and Sister Qinyu?" Xiao Xiaowan asked. Even with Luo Mengchong by her side, she still couldn't help but ask. Long Xingyang frowned slightly, gesturing for her to keep quiet. But the more he did so, the harder it was for everyone to calm down. Just a few months ago, Chu Hen and Bai Qinyu were so close. Why were they acting like strangers now? Could it be because of Luo Mengchong? But Bai Qinyu already knew of Luo Mengchong's existence back in the Midland. If that was the only reason, Bai Qinyu wouldn't have been so indifferent. Since Luo Mengchong was present, the others didn't ask any more questions, especially since Chu Hen's expression didn't seem quite right. "She's really beautiful. Even I feel inferior to her. If it were me, I would probably fall in love with her too," Luo Mengchong said softly as she gently held Chu Hen's arm. There was no displeasure in her tone, but there were ripples in her clear eyes. Chu Hen smiled self-deprecatingly and shook his head, not saying much. Looking at that familiar figure, no matter how restless he was, he had no excuse to take another step forward. Back when they had parted ways at the demonized Sacred Clan, and now that they had met again, it was as if they had crossed thousands of rivers and oceans. That pair of crystal-clear teardrops in her eyes was still unforgettable. "Junior Sister Qinyu seems to be a little different from before. Am I wrong?" Because of the arrival of the Holy Eye Sacred Clan, the Star Sacred Clan and the Sky Burning Sacred Clan stood together again. The one who spoke was Meng Xiaolin, who was standing beside Chen Jingfeng. He, Di Qiong, and Lu Mian of the Great Wilderness Sacred Clan were also on good terms with Bai Qinyu. They could be considered normal friends. "What's different?" Bai Qinyu asked casually. "You used to be very cold. You even know how to joke today." Meng Xiaolin smiled. "Cold?" Bai Qinyu pursed her red lips slightly, and her beautiful eyes turned away with a tinge of complicated thoughts. She muttered to herself, "It's not that I'm too cold, but I'm too busy being humble to others." Humble? Hearing these two words, Chun Jingfeng and Yin Hanyu could not help but look at each other. In this world, is there anyone who can make you, Miss Bai Qinyu, feel humble? Yin Hanyu asked in a low voice. Bai Qinyu smiled, but did not answer. What does it matter if I'm humble or not? Before the two of them could ask, a rapid airflow suddenly swept across the sky above the East Plaza. The hearts of everyone present were instantly shocked. Under the guidance of a few Spirit Precipice Peak guides, A team with a strong aura walked into the East Plaza. All the geniuses and experts of the various clans turned pale. Even the aura of the three strong teams, the Star Sacred Clan, the Sky Burning Sacred Clan, and the Holy Eye Sacred Clan, was suppressed. "They're here." Yin Hanyu's eyes turned cold, and he said in a light tone. Chun Jingfeng also frowned, and a solemn expression that had never been seen before appeared on his handsome face. "It seems that we've come to the right division. We've met here." "Ha! Just in time to say hello." Yin Hanyu's voice paused, and he uttered a few words. "Reincarnation, Sacred Clan."